Astronauts to the moon.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage. Mirage.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jeranism, back with another video for you this evening. Sorry getting going a little bit late here. Was trying to let Flat Earth Asshole get some of his stuff out. I hate to go live with somebody else live, but you know, sometimes you gotta do it. So I appreciate everyone who's joining me in the chat, those at home, those in your car, those standing upside down, of course, as always, and those perpendicular. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate all of you. So what is on the agenda for tonight? I have two short videos I want to show you, and then I also want to show you a promo video, and then we'll get to calls. Actually, let's start with the promo video. If you remember, for 2 weeks in a row on Monday Night Raw, and also a show here on my channel, I hung out with a guy named Curious J, who's got his own channel, and it looks like he's moving on up. So let's check out that.
Has been paid for by
the Flat Earth
Podcast.
What? The Flat Earth
Podcast.
Every day I wake up and I'm like, can you believe people think we live on a spinning ball?
You hear it all the time in Flat Earth videos where we've all been indoctrinated. That's what our education system is.
NASA and Disney.
Yep.
Those are our two sources. And Disney is far more credible than NASA at this point.
My job years ago, I used to go out onto these offshore oil rigs.
Save your globes. They're going to be collector's items.
And I watched it all the way through and stopped dead in my tracks when I got to the curvature formula.
Astronomy is a joke. Every single thing about it is a lie.
I said something to my wife, and of course she thought I was nuts.
You know, my saying is every sense we have tells us we're flat and stationary. Only nonsense tells us otherwise.
Ooh, that's good. I like that. That's good. You need to meme that, Dave.
It could be a t-shirt.
So very cool to have those two guys joining forces. That's Dave Weiss and Curious J. 1 second, because I hear I'm not loud enough, so let me fix that. And I don't know why I'm not loud enough. Hold on 1 second. Could be because this thing's way over here. All right, so tell me if my voice is any better. I'll try not to use any four-letter words. Yes. Still low? I still see low. 1 second. I don't know why. Okay, I'm going to fix it. 1 second. Give me a moment. I was playing with the audio trying to get this. This is supposed to be Bob and Morgile were going to join me, but I couldn't get this stupid thing to work. So, 1 second. Make sure that's all good. That's good. Let me go up a little bit there. Test, test, test. How's that? Any better? Everybody says sounds good. Better? Still low? Better? Good to me. All right. It was the vid playing that was low, but it sounded like it turned it up in the middle. Yeah, I tried to. All right, good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your help. Everybody in the chat. Hello, Truth Finder. What's going on, Jason? Appreciate you guys being here. So we saw that little short clip, and I've got another one I wanted to have you guys watch. I don't know if you've seen this, but this is a video of Michael Collins that I found interesting. So we're going to bring that up here shortly. And oh, that's so cool. I love that. I made that all myself. Wasn't that impressive? Every time I get a sub, we knock the head of the astronaut off, which is, what's better than that? Probably nothing. Let's go to the pop player. Here we go. So we're going to watch here Michael Collins. Just keep an eye on his reactions here. This is a 2-minute video, And we've got Jeff Bezos from Amazon, who will be talking about the moon landings. And just watch Michael Collins. I don't know. Sometimes a picture tells 1,000 words, you know?
Basically, has receded a bit, and entrepreneurs have the opportunity to do it. Do you think there's some way to recapture the U.S. government's interest in this?
Well, I think if you think back to kind of the heyday of the 1960s and the Apollo program and all of that excitement, my gut instinct on this is that we as a civilization, we as humanity, pulled that moon landing way forward, out of sequence from where it actually should have been. It was a gigantic effort with what is, in many ways, it should have been impossible. And they pulled it off with, barely any computational power. They were still using slide rules. They couldn't numerically model in computers a lot of these important processes like combustion inside a rocket engine, which is still hard today, but we can do it a little bit. They didn't have computational fluid dynamics to really, everything had to be done in a wind tunnel. Nothing could be done on a computer. So I think the reason we've sort of taken a hiatus, maybe in part at least, is because we pulled that forward to a time when it should have been impossible. And then once it was done, we kind of had to wait and let technology catch up. The reason that Blue Origin and SpaceX and Virgin Galactic and all these companies today, any of these private companies, the only reason that we can do this kind of endeavor at all is because we're standing on the shoulders of NASA, who invented all of this technology. We're still using all the things that they invented back in the 60s. We have refined versions of it. But even the computer codes that we use to validate our designs have been, honed and fine-tuned by NASA over decades. So this is, I think we're finally entering, I believe that we are entering a new golden age of space and space exploration. And that the time has come for that to happen because we as a species have up-leveled ourselves in terms of technology. We're ready to do it now. It's amazing that we did it in 1969.
So,
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, Bezos. Yeah, and I saw somebody in the chat say he's creepy. He is absolutely creepy. And the next video, and you might have seen this. It's a deep pool dive, I guess, like the world's deepest pool. But a couple things I wanted to point out in this dive. One thing I always get crap about regarding bubbles in space is people saying, well, these bubbles, they don't go straight up. They don't look like bubbles. They're not circular. They are disc-shaped. Lots of different complaints and comments about bubbles in space. But I want you to watch this video and watch the bubbles and also watch the cleanliness of this pool. And imagine NASA, who's got a giant tank, much the same. It's filtered out and it's dark. And tell me if this looks like a spacewalk. I'm actually going to turn that volume down so I don't have to hear that, or maybe it'll save me a copyright. So if you just watch here, you can tell that this pool is obviously ultra clean, ultra filtered. But when we do see bubbles, we're going to see them going not straight up, as one would expect. We're going to see them going off to the side. So we'll just keep watching here. Hopefully you can see it as clearly as I can. And again, if this is a dark room, like they are doing spacewalks, you're certainly not going to see the kind of bubbles that people expect. I don't know how this guy holds his breath for this long. That's crazy. And say, watch these bubbles. See these bubbles here on the right? So those aren't anywhere near circular. They're going in different directions. Very disc-like. Hopefully you can see them good. Sometimes you can't quite get the same look I have. A A lot of the shadows look the same as we see. Pretty crazy. So just so, you know, a lot of people think ocean. And there's actually some good videos of that. I don't know if you've ever looked into the deep drilling that they do, deep oil drilling that they do in the ocean. Even that looks like the ISS to me. So those are the only two videos. I just wanted to show you those before we got going. And besides that, I just wanted to take calls, a chance for people to ask me whatever or comment whatever, because I cannot possibly get to everything that I want to get to. If you've tried Facebooking me or Twitter, I might get to it for a day or two and kind of clean up as much as I can, and then I let it go, and I might not see it for a week or two. So I'm not very good at getting back to everyone. I wish I could. But I am 100% on ask.fm/jeranism because it alerts my phone, and usually people are pretty cool about not overwhelming it, meaning, you know, don't ask me 1,000 questions, but I'm getting questions there and I answer everything within 24 hours. So ask.fm/jeranism is a good place if you just have some sort of question to ask there. And so let me get the phone set up. Again, the phone number. Oh, let's go check out the ISS. We're going to do that too. By the way, it's not, it's terrible looking here. That's why I didn't do the, didn't look at the ISS, but I'm hoping that tomorrow at 4:20 a.m. or 4:30, whatever it was, they're supposed to be, you know, my best view in quite a while, 87 degrees, I believe. So I'm going to check that out in the morning, and let's go check out what it looks like now. Where is it? Yeah, maybe not. Not that one. Not that one. Where did it go? 1 second. This one. Okay, let's go check it out here. So this one here. Now this page that I'm on is you can go to my website. Thank you very much. You can go to my website, which is jeranism.com, and if you go up to the top and hit more, there's an ISS viewer, and it basically, you can get the map here with the current location of the ISS, and then you get both camera feeds. So you just hit play on both these. These are the two live feeds that they do have. And so while I'm taking calls, I'm going to go ahead and play this in the background. Again, we're getting the same thing we were. If you watched GLOBEBUSTERS earlier, we were getting... Let me make sure I turn these volumes down, because if I forget, then I have to hear them talk. Okay, get those down. And let me see, zoom out and see where the sun is. So we've got a ways to go in the dark still. So I don't expect to see anything. Again, you never see any lights down here. Anybody's camera would be able to take that. Your just normal $200 camera would be able to auto adjust and easily see the lights below. It's just crazy because if you go here and go ISS at night, that was a nice type, ISS at night. And of course we see this. So I don't know about you, but that's quite a big difference between this and the live view of this. And of course they've got every excuse in the book. Would you ever expect it to be anything different? I certainly wouldn't. So you got this, you've got this, you've got all these beautiful night pictures, this. So what they're trying to say, I guess, is that this picture here, you wouldn't be able to see if you just took a picture. If you just turned on your video camera and started filming, you would get this. But by somehow setting the exposure to open the lens longer, or the shutter, then you get these glorious pictures like this. So, hey, if that's what you want to believe, then go right ahead. So let's take some calls, see how far we can go. Phone number is 562-735-FLAT. That is 562-735-FLAT. And we'll try and keep them short, because I know I go on forever. So we'll try and keep it as short as possible. But yeah, if you want to call, the lines are open. And hopefully everybody hears you and can hear me. So let's go. Let's see here. Did I turn on the calls? Oh, that would help. Sorry. Let me turn this on. Okay, now they're open. My bad. My bad. All right. Yeah, see, what's going on here with this yellow box. I mean, they're nowhere near the sun, so I'm not sure what exactly is supposed to be lighting that up. Is that like some exterior light? And if anybody wants to bet me money on how long the live feed will stay live, you can call in and we can bet over the phone right now. Because they go off the air about every 45 minutes, so maybe you can take anything over an hour, and I'll take anything under, and we can bet that, because you will lose, because they can't keep it live. So there's just no way. Did I give the right phone number? 562-735-FLAT. That'd be great if nobody has any questions. I'll actually be stoked. Because I don't, unless somebody's trying to call. Oh, sorry. Wait, now I see people typing to me. What's wrong with the calling? Can you not call? 1 second, let me make sure this is all set up right. I don't know why I'm getting people texting me. Call the number, don't text it. Nope, looks like it works. Save them, save that. So, I don't know if I'm not getting any calls or... That's good. Maybe nobody wants to talk. Ah, see, you would have lost. Whoever would have bet me would have lost. High definition camera already offline. Which, again, makes no sense. Why does the one work and not the other? Obviously, it's not offline. Obviously, it can't not communicate. So, let's see here. What else did we want to talk about? Just a point to make sure... Oh, see, I'm getting voice messages now. What is going on? Let me see what this voice message is. Let's listen. I don't know why I'm getting voice messages and not seeing calls. Go ahead and try and call in again if you want, and I will be watching it this time. I don't know why I'm not getting any rings. Let me see, make sure this is right. I was screwing with it earlier. Got another message. What's going on here? It looks like it's working. Save. Let's try this voice message.
Hey, Duran, this is Harrison out of San Antonio, Texas. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on the new Vsauce video, going over, how the Earth is so gigantic, it's just impossible to put yourself far enough away to get a whole field of view of it. All this stuff about it being necessary to stitch images together because it's just so big. There's no destination from where you can see the entire planet. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on it. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Harrison, for the call. Sorry, my phone's not ringing. I don't know why. I see I've gotten 3 more calls during that time. I put myself as online. Let me try and go do not disturb and then back online. Let me see what else I could have set wrong. Call, audio settings. Everything seems right. Let me see. Sounds, dial tone, ringtone, Skype. Okay, that's the sound. Play the sound. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to play. Video settings. I don't know what else I could have to do. Maybe I have to put on people who call me can be anyone. No, it says anyone. No idea. Use Skype to call. Yeah, general. I wonder why this isn't working. I see a bunch of voice messages. I guess I could listen to those. Harrison, I will get to your question. I'm just trying to figure out why I'm not receiving calls here. Let's try this one.
John.
Yes.
I appreciate you.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Let's have nothing but calls like that. Let's see here. Try another one. Sorry, guys. I don't know why it's not... Okay, what does that sound? See, it's just another voice message, man. Let me see if I call this person back. We'll try and make a call. Oh, that didn't work well. Man, I don't know why this wouldn't work. Contacts. I'll check the chat, see if anybody knows why it wouldn't be ringing. Anybody know? Yeah, phone no work. Now, I'm not using Skype for business, just regular Skype. But usually a little thing pops up here to tell me calls are coming. Now I'm just getting voice messages. Could be backed up. I have seen that happen before. No, stop it. What could be going on here? Skype. Online status. And I'm available. Online. You got 141 missed calls. That's fun. And this is 3 missed calls from you. Let me delete that. I wonder why. Man, I just keep getting voice messages.
Hey, Germany, it's Ace.
What's up, Ace? That was it. Okay, so people are at least trying to call. Maybe I'll sign out and sign back in. That's the only thing I could think of. I'll do that real quick. Try that. Sorry, guys. It's not the way it's supposed to go down. Let's see what happens if I get out of here. And quit Skype. Let me try and sign back in, see if that fixes anything. Anything going on in the ISS? I'm going to peek in. Just the same light. What is that? So getting close to a sunrise, probably within the next 15 minutes. Let me try and sign back into Skype. Make sure this is working. Volume control options. Yeah, it looks fine. I don't know. Okay. And this one. Playback devices. Oh, I know what it could be. 1 second, I think I know what it is. I think I know what it is. Let's go over here. Earlier when I was trying to fix the issue with Bob and John not being able to be heard, one of the persons told me to go into Skype and change the name of a file. Let me go fix that. That probably is what's going on. Skype, and then under, is it updater? Nope, browser. Phone. Okay, and I renamed it this. Let me rename it back to .dll. DLL. Enter. If you change file name, yes, change it. Okay, let's try that. That might fix it. Cancel. Let me try and sign in now. This is okay. Hopefully that fixed it. Alright. Sign back in. Go ahead and try and give me a call now. Again, 562-735 flat. Hopefully it works. And I just see, oh geez, bunch of missed. Now we're up to 155 missed calls. Oh, this sucks. What's going on here? Come on. Why wouldn't it ring? Sorry guys, I see you all calling. And this, I don't think it lets me call out. How would I do this person add what? Create new group, no. Tools. Let me just check my options again. Show me the way when I've been active. No. Start Skype. Sign in. Set program. Man, audio settings. Both of them are set on. It says play sound. It's working. That one. Show advanced options. Yep, that one. And speakers is this one. Save. Jesus, that was loud. Sorry, I'm trying to fix this and see what's going on. What's going on with this thing? Skype. Yeah, it's on. Don't have any idea. System sounds. I don't. This person keeps leaving a message. Let's go to this person. Nope. Sorry. Yeah, I hear it. I know. I feel bad. I don't know what to do. This person just keeps leaving a 1-second message. Man.
I continue to call.
I know. I feel you.
It just sends me to it's a person that I'm trying to reach is unavailable, and then it just has me leave a message. So.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out. Was that you or me? Let me see what's down here in this little box. Online status is open Skype and quit. I'm going to try and quit one more time and see what I can do. Okay, so we got a sunrise coming here. We can watch this while I see what the hell's going on. Might have something to do with that changed file. And I don't know what I can do if I stay on. It probably is one of those reset your computer kind of deals. Alright, so I'm just watching this and looking. I guess this is supposed to be on the left side. I guess that's supposed to be the sun. I mean, so imagine when you see it going over your head, super bright light, if you've ever seen it. It's supposed to be, it's just that little orange light there on the left. I mean, you would never see that from 250 miles. What a joke. What a joke. And Harrison, as far as the Vsauce, I thought it was pretty telling that he comes back after about 5 or 6 months off and goes right to the flat earth. Certainly interesting, but to be expected. I mean, they're going to have to do one of two things. I mean, they have to either change the way they teach and so come out and prove it, but what they're doing is they're throwing a bunch of word salad at it again. It's not proof, and I think they're in trouble because they know that. And it's not something that's been proven. It's just the direction that they've gone in. And they've got NASA who is set up to fool you. You know, if you guys don't know my opinion is that all of outer space is a mathematical computer simulation. That I think that that's how they maintain their control over the world. By being the first ones up there, they knew that if they constructed the math perfectly, then they could send satellites, quote-unquote satellites. They could send spacecraft, they could send rovers, they could send moon missions, and as long as whatever they show us on the screen matches what we see from our telescopes, then there's no way to prove it wrong. Because if you can't go to space, then you can't ever prove them wrong. In order to prove their whole entire system wrong, you need to go to Saturn and measure Saturn. You need to go to Mars and measure the distance. You need to know how big it is. If you don't know those things, then you're in trouble. And it's obvious that every government agency, every space agency, even SpaceX, you know, who I have that clip of Elon Musk saying that he had to give 300 government officials full backroom access to his computer programs. That's not a private corporation anymore. That's been taken over by the government. And once you have somebody who's inside your computers, then it can return the exact data you're waiting for and the exact data that you're looking for to confirm missions. Nobody saw anything land on Mars. They simply got data back. And it would be very easy to fake for very smart people at the highest level who need to continue the charade. Wouldn't be difficult, not hard to imagine at all. All right, I'm going to try and sign back in here, see if we can get anywhere. Don't know what's going on with this thing. Guess I could try and do it from the web thing too. I don't know if it's any different. What is my name? And if this doesn't work, then I'll just read the chat, take questions from there. So get ready for that in case that's what happens. What is my password? Okay. Come on, work. All right. Phone lines are open. I know there's that way you can do a test call too. Let me do that real quick. Oh, there we go. What do you know? All right, I think it works. You're on with Jeranism. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Jerry?
How's it going?
How you doing, buddy?
Good, you?
Hey, pretty good, man. I left you some message, but most of them just say, "Oh, Jerry," 'cause I couldn't get through.
My good buddy Timmy Osmond. What's up?
Yeah, hey. I was kind of questioning. I know it's probably something you didn't want to talk about.
There's nothing I don't want to talk about.
Nice. Well, I was actually thinking about doing a video on it. I was kind of thinking that, you know, basically all of these flat Earth people that are going to the conference should, you would think, get some kind of compensation for their, you know, flights and all that kind of stuff. Basically, if you do the math, I mean, that guy's looking to gain like $50K off this whole charade. So it's kind of weird, don't you think?
Well, I did think that, but I talked to him about some of it because I used to. God, how do I tell this thing not to? Hold on. So I'm going to set this, make sure that nobody can call me somehow. There's got to be in these options. But I was thinking kind of the same thing. But I also used to set up these 2-day meetings that we used to do for Longs and CVS store managers, and I used to book those, and they were extremely expensive. I mean, beyond what you would think. So I know that those things are expensive, and when we sold out, I was kind of upset because I said, "Oh man, more people want to go than are going to get to go." And then I saw that he had put on, this live streaming, and when I saw it was like $15 or whatever it is, I said, "Oh man, that seems expensive because you could just set up your iPhone." So I did give him a call and say, "Hey, you're charging that much for live streaming?" And then he told me what he got, and it's going to be a quality. Well, I can't say that I know for a fact. What he said is that he's gotten a 4-person camera crew that is going to be filming it. So different angles. They're going to have the lower thirds. They're going to have, I think, a DVD that you can get or something like that. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it wasn't what I was thinking, which was like set up your iPhone and here you go. Here's the live feed. So it is going to be kind of a cool feature, I think, and it's cheap. I mean, to me, that's something that if I wasn't going and wasn't paying my own money to go, then, I would feel like that's not a big price to pay for a 2-day conference. And, I've heard a lot of people complaining, saying that they think it's just going to be a bunch of people getting together and it's not going to be anything new. And, I don't disagree with them because it certainly is not. I'm not going to hold anything back for, somebody asked me the other day, "What are you going to talk about?" I said, "I have no idea. What are you talking about? How would I wouldn't start thinking about that now." Because anything I come across or anything I see or find, it will be said within a day or two, as always. So it's not a matter.
So let me tell you real quick.
Sure.
I've been in those 2 to 4-person crews where you have a producer, you have audio, video people.
Right.
And I mean, I did it actually for high schools, even at a high school level, but like the championships. And that was like, I would get like $1,300 a day, which was like 4 or 5 hours.
Wow.
So I understand that those are, those are pretty expensive, those kind of crews sometimes. But really, I'm just saying that the cost of the stream is going to probably pay for that at least. And really, when you do set up an event, it's called the talent. The people like you and Bob and all these different people are the talent.
Mm-hmm.
And usually not only do they get per diem and their airfare paid and all this kind of stuff, they actually get money on top of that. Now, I would just say, it would be, I actually called that place, and for the 1,000-person ballroom, it was pretty expensive, but not for the smaller ballroom. I'm thinking it's like 40 or 50 grand here that's up on the table. That really, at least you guys should be able to be like compensated, I think.
Well, I think that we've never been told that we would not be. He said that, he would try it this year, and if we couldn't do that, then hopefully in the future years, if we do it again. So I don't think anybody has said that it won't happen. So it's just not something that's been planned for, because as the money is made, if it goes over the amount where they can offer plane flights, And I think they've actually made deals with some people. So I do think some people are getting their trips paid, and I don't know who, but I've heard that they are working towards getting that done for everyone, or at least, I'm sorry, not their rooms paid, not their flight. So I mean, that's my hope, is that I would be included in that. And he said that, you know, it's just the beginning. I mean, we've got 3 months left. So if you ask me, I don't think I'll be paying for a room. So it's a first year. Cool. It's a first year. It's not, you know, I just think it's cool that we all get together. I don't know. I've never met Bob. I've never met Morgile. Never met anybody other than Dwayne and Math, and that was pretty much it. So for me, it's just going to be cool to meet everybody and get to be around them. Just say, you know, what's up? People that I feel like I know. You know, I feel like I know Bob. I feel, you know, I talk to him all the time. I feel like I know John. So it'd be interesting.
Have you never met Bob before?
No, I've never met Bob.
Oh, wow. I've even met Bob before you. Isn't that crazy?
You've met a bunch of people before me. You met Cammie before me. You met, yeah. Well, you guys are in the same
Oh, wow.
state.
Yeah. Cammie is a very lovely woman.
Yeah,
very, very lovely woman.
Yeah, they're very nice people. I don't know if you've seen now that people say that Bob's my dad or something. So
Bob's your uncle, cross-eyed spot. Sorry. That's the satire that comes out of me. But hey, I don't want to tie up your phone line. Thanks for talking with me, brother.
Hey, do you use Skype all the time? Is there a way to stop people from calling when you're on the phone with somebody else? Is there like a setting for call waiting? Probably not, huh?
I'm not sure, man. I don't know much about Skype.
You know everything about everything. I thought.
I know. Tim Osmond, a hacker, but when it comes to Skype, not so much.
All right. Well, appreciate the call, and
cool.
You know, look into your globe a little closer.
Will do, brother.
Peace.
Have a good...
All right, phone line's open. I think I know what I need to do. I need to change the sound when I get a call. So, head troll Tim Osmond, who called me like 300 times, I see here. So he just has a quick finger. So phone line's open. I'm just going to try and turn off this sound so I don't have to hear that. So what is this? Dial tone, connecting call, ringtone. Busy signal, call, hold, resuming call, connecting call. What's going on? You're on with Jeranism.
Jerry, what's up, man?
How's it going?
Long-time fan, dude.
Hey, thanks.
Hey, I just wanted to ask you if you ever get nervous about people coming after you, government people. You ever get scared?
No.
Like, you've got 500 people watching now. I mean,
yeah, I haven't.
I was making YouTube videos about flat Earth stuff, but I had to take them all down because it just got too hot for me, you know?
Yeah, and you know, the one thing about
a little bit too freaked out.
And I can understand this, well, especially if you have a job. You know, I know that things would be different for me if I still worked in the corporate world. And that's one of the reasons I kept going with what I was doing, is because I was in a position that I could, and not knowing that nobody can call and threaten my boss because I work from home. You know, I don't make a lot of money, you know, barely enough to get by, but I knew that I feel safe at home. You know, I own a firearm. I'm fine. You know, so no, I've never felt scared about it. It is pretty. I don't know. It is kind of troubling that there is people out there that would ever do something like that, but I don't worry about it. I really think that by staying public, by being out in the open, by using my real name, that it would be a detriment to whoever did something, because it's just going to add more to the, you know, more fuel to the fire. That they would rather have me look crazy, right? They want the crazy YouTube guy saying the earth is flat rather than some sort of martyr, or because then you have everybody saying, wait, the guy who said the, you know, earth is flat got killed or whatever. And, you know, I've said to people many times on my show that I would never commit suicide. So I know that they've figured out a way to do that to some people.
Yep.
But no, I can honestly say that I've never for once been, you know, scared or afraid at any moment. And I don't plan on it. It's just something I'm not worried about. I mean, you know, I think if you know me, I don't think this life is it. You know, I think that there is another aspect, obviously a much larger and more important aspect. So I do chalk this up to, obviously, you want to get better. You want to learn from your mistakes. You want to, you know, be a good person. And I think that I've turned that leaf. You know, we all have our pasts, And, within the last 5 years or so, I'm a different person, and I don't have any fear of the other side or that last day. I'd like to be here as long as possible. But if anything were to ever happen, I hope you guys would just keep going and keep trying to bring the truth, and don't let dirtbags who have basically lied to your parents and your grandparents and your great-grandparents and kept them, in the dark. And, if we don't act now, our children have no chance. This is kind of the time to get it out there and have people look into it. And if they all come to the conclusion that this big ball that's on your screen here is where you live, then more power to them. For me, it's just there's too much evidence telling me it's not.
Well, you're doing good work, man. And like I said, I used to make flat Earth videos, but I took them all down just because I got too scared. But
scared from
more power
from your work,
to you, man.
or what was it that was
just a lot of weird stuff had been happening to me. I felt like I just kept getting followed. I mean, it might have all been in my head, but I just really felt like things were about to come to something, something scary.
I've told the
and
story.
I was hoping that I would get like paid, that they would just pay me off. But that's kind of why I started making the videos in the first place, was just start getting the checks.
Wow.
But
I was actually offered.
But it felt like I thought they were going to kill me,
Yeah, I was actually offered.
But
not by a person.
You were offered?
Well, by a lawyer contacted me and said there's some law in the United States, and I can't think of the name of it, but you can basically sue a government agency privately. And he said basically he would be my lawyer, and we would sue NASA privately, but it goes to the American government, and it never even goes to NASA. And the government would look at it and decide if you have a case, and if you do, they pay you out, and you can never say a thing. And I turned that down because it's just not what I'm doing this for. It's not. I could never live with myself if it was a get paid and be quiet thing. And then I do think then I would need to be scared every corner if I ever took money. Even my wife was saying, what if we ever took the money and then still got the truth out, or fed it to other people, or were able to do it covertly? And like, no, that's the kind of time. Then you do have to watch your back all the time. So, I mean, I would love, just like anybody else, to live free, as far as live easy and not have to worry about paying rent every month and not have to worry about where money's going to come from. I would love that, but it's not something I'm willing to give up my restful sleep for. I'm not going to do that. Have that, but have to worry about everything and have constant worries of who's following me and if I'm going to get killed for talking when I shouldn't have. It's just easier just to talk it out and just hope for the best, and that's all you can do, So I feel bad for you if you felt threatened, because I mean, I lost my house. I mean, I again, it's the same kind of thing where I might not be the reason why, but we were 2 to 3 months behind my mortgage payment on my house that I bought in 2011 for quite a while, and the bank didn't seem to really care. It just remained that way. We would kind of always pay late and just we're behind. And then one time, it was within 2-3 months of doing Flat Earth videos, that we went out to the car, and when we got there was 23 pages or something and they weren't like a packet nailed or taped to my garage. They had taped 23 pages across the front of the garage. I don't know who the hell does that. I wasn't outside, so I couldn't see who dropped the papers off. But we had to collect the papers, and it basically said that they were going to auction the house. So yeah, I mean, that I don't know if that's because of the flat Earth, if that accelerated it, but it wasn't like we were falling further behind or anything. It was the same place we were for 2 years. So I mean, I do look at that, and it upsets me because I worked for 14 years to save the money to buy that house, and it still upsets me now to think about it. It's a lot of money to basically piss away. I had a nice 2-story house that I think it was sold for like $600,000 in 2000. In 2006, it sold for $600,000, and I bought it for like $240 in 2011. So it just so happened that it was bad timing. I got married that same year in November and lost my job by the end of that year. Well, actually, it was the next year, 2012, in March. So just a bad storm, and found the flat Earth at the same time. And the rest is kind of history. And now we're just renting like everybody else. And I miss the house and all, but I think in the end that I definitely feel like I'm doing something beneficial for the world that more than I felt when I worked at a drugstore that screwed people daily.
Yeah, you got your dignity now, man.
Yep, and that's what allows you to sleep at night. And even if we're incorrect, well, then they're going to change the way they teach children going forward, and they're going to show proofs and evidence and experiments. And I just doubt that they have any. If they can't come out with them by now, you just got Neil deGrasse dropping microphones and Bill Nye saying, "Come on, guys, these guys aren't real. They're not serious, man." I mean, that's their excuses. That's their explanations. That's their experiments. It's not the science that they taught us science was all about, with this, repeatability, testability, observability, all these things that science was. And that's why we all believe the globe, because you taught us science first and then said these things are scientific. So we all just said, oh, they proved it. Sweet. And it just sucks that we get to the point now and we're looking for the proof. And basically you have to trust in NASA or don't. That's basically what it comes down to. And I don't know about you, but I've never met any group of men who have had my best interests at heart. It seems to me that they've always had their own interests everywhere. That's just how societies, secret societies are. So. So yep. So I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna get back into it. I think, man. I think you inspired me to start making these videos again.
Yeah, I think
But mostly, I've just been doing Sandy Hook hoax and conspiracy videos.
Yeah,
and things like that. But
that's a big one. I mean, you got to get people to see that stuff. I think San Bernardino is a completely obvious one, and Sandy Hook, no doubt, is obvious. And Boston bombing is probably the worst. So I mean, yeah, these are things that people need to see, because I mean, really, when you look at it, when's the last time we were attacked by anybody? I mean, that wasn't our own government or wasn't sanctioned, and I'm not sure to what level. Do they plan it? Do they know it? Do they instigate it? Do they just egg somebody on? Do they, I'm not really sure. It's not for us to really figure that much out. You just know it's not the story that the media tells, and it becomes obvious. So really, when you look at it, I can't think of a time where Americans have been attacked that I don't look at and say, I think the evidence leads me more to the idea that this is a false flag. And they've been doing it for hundreds of years. And the CIA and FBI are all just devices at their disposal to put anything into action. And the media, once they're bought and paid for, we really have no chance but just information, right? Just get it out there, make videos, show people, and give them the choice to either look at it or don't. I mean, my thing is, I'll respect anybody if they can tell me that they spent a day studying Sandy Hook and have come to the conclusion that it was real. I'd like to talk to that person, but mostly what I get is people who think it's just ridiculous. It's the same thing as the globe. It's ridiculous if you doubt the globe. They haven't looked into it. They're not interested in that. It's just ridiculous if you do. Just like it's ridiculous if you look into Sandy Hook. How dare you question these people and their children? When if you just look up Sandy Hook, that is a pedophile haven. So if you ask me, I think it's dangerous to say nobody died, because to those parents, maybe their child is quote unquote dead because they got a paycheck and they sold their child off to some pedophile. So if you take that person to court, they're going to have a hard time. You're going to have a hard time winning that court battle, because you're going to be saying their kid didn't die, and they're going to be over there saying, well, where is he? Where's my child? So, but I think we need to expose the whole thing. The whole thing is just a sham, top to bottom. Somebody is doing something with those children. I think that is completely terrible.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, their kids are getting raped by billionaires.
Yep.
I mean, unless they're too old and they just killed them and threw them in the trash.
Yeah, it's all over. It's disgusting.
It's crazy,
and it's the to be the leaders, to be the elite. That's who gets to the top, is the ones willing to step on anybody on the way up, and also the ones willing to drink blood and F children. So, until we get them gone, then, it's going to continue happening. So I'm all for it. I think you should keep making videos.
But,
just stay public. And
yeah, man.
All right. Well, thanks for calling.
All right, man.
Peace. Catch another one here. You're on with
Hey,
Jeranism. What's up?
Oh, hey, is this Jeranism?
Yep. What's up?
Hey, I just wanted to say thanks. I think you're doing a great service to everybody. And I wanted to know what your thoughts were on Donald Marshall, or have you heard of him?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough
With,
one for me.
cloning and...
Yeah, because I talked to BOB a few times about it because I wanted to get his kind of opinion on it. I have a weird opinion about cloning. I don't think they can clone adults. I think that it is possible that they have children that are grown up, because a certain amount of children go missing every year that are unaccounted for. The number varies. I've heard people say 3,000. I've heard people say 20,000. I've heard people say 50,000. But however many those children are, if you picture, say you've got some underground place where you're raising, say 20,000 children a year, or 10,000, let's say 2,000 children a year. Well, now you've got these children that are being raised to be dirtbags, that are being raised to be cretins. And when they get old enough, then I think that then they look at the pool of children and they're able to pick people out of society that they want to replace. And even celebrities, it wouldn't be hard because you've got all these children and you just need somebody close in age that you can just replace. And I think what happens is they can mind control people. Obviously, we know that with Tavistock and MK Ultra. So if they're mind controlling people like, let's say Donald Marshall or BOB, I wouldn't be surprised that somebody sees themselves at some event, and maybe they see them, on TV or something, and they're like, "Man, that must be my clone," or they were mind controlled when they were up there, so they don't remember being there, and that's why they think that that's their clone when really it was them. So I think it's just more a matter of that, and they want us to think that they have that kind of ability, but I don't think they do. What about you? You think that they can clone?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've just been watching a lot of different videos and stuff, and it's kind of hard to wrap your head around a lot of this stuff, but I wouldn't deny it or say that, they couldn't do it. I'm not saying you're saying that, but I'm just saying I think they have the capabilities of it. And I was going to also ask, would you ever take a trip to Antarctica?
Yeah, I would. I did get offered that as well by actually the person who taped, I can't think of his name right now, Anthony something. The person who did the 24-hour video that has the little watch sitting in the middle of the screen and the camera pans 24 hours and shows the sun down there. Because I contacted him and I wanted to have his permission to get the video forensically investigated because I don't think the sun is real at all in that video. And he told me basically no, but said that why don't you just go down there and film it yourself? Go down there. I said, well, it's too expensive. And he says, well, I'll look into getting a trip for you. I'll figure out how much it is. So he came back and said that the trip was something, I think it was like $27,000. And he said, here, I'll make you a deal. He said, if you get your subscribers to buy your way down there, so, you get the 27,000, then if you go down there and what you film is not what I filmed, then I'll pay you back so that you can give everybody who donated their money back. And if you do go down there and you do film what I filmed, then you don't get the money back, and you get a trip and your people paid for it. So I didn't do that because obviously he could have been bluffing, but at the same time I looked at it as it would be too easy if they knew exactly where I was. I think Morgile talked about it today, that we've already seen they've got a portable sun. They've got not a portable sun. They've got a model sun. It's they've got a patent for it. Excuse me. A fake sun, and we know that they can lift up to 8,000 pounds on balloons, and we know that they can control.
Oh yeah,
them.
I've seen the moons too. The where they just made these plastic molds of these moons. Like these huge giant spheres and pictures and paintings. It's like,
right?
Why don't they show us real pictures?
Yeah, and that's
I totally understand.
I just think it's too easy, especially because our horizons are not that far away from us that they would be able to just fly a balloon basically in a circle around wherever I was. And, I already know that it can't be the sun because it's a freaking frozen tundra. So if it's getting 24 hours of sun for, 3 or 4 months, there's no reason why it should just be nothing but ice. Unless it's a fake sun. And if it's a fake sun, well, then that
keep up the good work, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you taking my call, and
Anytime.
I appreciate you informing everybody.
All right, peace.
Really.
All right, we get another one here. You're on with Jeranism. What's up?
Hey, Darren, this is Joe Clayton from Roswell. How's it going?
What's up, Joe?
Hey, well, I was wondering, did you ever see that video where the guy was, I don't know how deep he was underneath the ocean, but he hit that,
the
another water and bounced?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, have you been hearing the news lately about somebody actually being to the dome and the way they describe it?
Where's that from? What are you talking about there?
Well, there's been I can't remember now exactly. I'd have to go looking through my history, but somebody had made a video that they had taken pictures. Somehow they were connected to Antarctica. They had taken pictures near the dome. They described it as some kind of liquid.
Okay.
Not exactly solid, but things would bounce off of it.
All right.
And I was wondering if anybody put those two things together, like maybe it is actually some kind of force field, water type field or something, just like that guy hit at the very depths of the ocean.
You know, you might be right, because isn't it crazy that the shuttle would fly up there and then it would go upside down, right? And I've always kind of thought, if there was some sort of liquid, could it just be basically, you know, and the bottom had all those black tiles and they were real concerned about the tiles. I don't know, I just always thought, could it be upside down and actually like surfing these waters?
Exactly.
Yeah, and no, it's a great idea. And you know what else is, I don't know if you've ever looked into the superfluid helium-3, but you know, liquid helium, it actually defies gravity by climbing up apparatuses. So if you looked it up on YouTube and found some video of it, basically if you put it in like an upside down jar, the liquid helium would crawl up the walls and then stick to the top inside of the jar. Almost
So what you're saying is, like, if they had some kind of scaffolding for the dome, that they could release some kind of helium, that helium could be released and crawl up that dome and kind of make a full field.
Well, it wouldn't need to be necessarily any kind of scaffolding. That just think of where does helium go every day? Helium goes up, and if it's helium-3, the liquid helium becomes that liquid when it gets to, you know, almost 0 degrees. So I'm just wondering if all that going up gets as cold as possible.
Absolutely. But what I'm saying is like, okay, so they put it in the jar, right? And it had the boundaries of the jar for it to climb on.
Correct.
So naturally, if it's a dome and it is made out of that, you would think that there's like something on the other side, some kind of solidity or something that keeps it from going any farther.
True, like it has to be something to hold it in.
But yeah, I just thought throw that out there because this is a couple of new videos I've seen, so I don't know where it's going. I've started trying to dig more into that, but yeah, I just thought I'd call you my ideas. I don't know.
Yeah, great. No, great. And I think everybody should be looking into all those ideas. There's so many possibilities of what it could be, and obviously we know we're being lied to, so I leave it open for everything, you know, infinite plane, dome. I don't know. I don't have evidence of either one, but I do have some slight evidence for both. So, I mean, it's just a matter of putting it all together. So,
well, I think one of the funniest things is that I was looking at some memes earlier today, and I thought, well, with all the information that, I mean, everybody has gathered in the last 2.5, 3 years, it's really the first information of really simple things that really blow NASA out of the water.
Yeah.
I mean, the picture from the moon, for example, I mean, it's the same size viewpoint from the moon, Earth is, as the moon is from Earth.
Right.
There's no possible way that's not even, I mean, how can anybody even believe that's real?
Yeah, I've gotten so far past that stuff, you know, it's moved into a new area because, yeah, you're right. All those things that were like the earth-shattering realization.
Well,
I've already
I guess my point is that we can come up with it almost. Everybody has come up with absolute proof, but I mean, who is there to validate it? Or I don't know how to even say it, put it in words, but if something as simple as, hey, there's no way that the Earth could be looking the same size of the moon from the moon as the moon does from the Earth, so it must be fake. If nobody can accept that, I mean, how are we going to, and can't convince anybody of anything?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest fear that most people have about it is that is it something that they have been able to explain away? They have excuses for everything, and people just believe it. People just hear gravity and they believe that that is an excuse for something. So that's kind of my goal, is finding that one thing that we can do it. If we found that one thing, like the test I want to do over at the river, if we did that and then we're able to make an actual documentary about it and actually put it into movie theaters or something, that's what I think it would take. It would take something like that, because or like some cut and dry, like I know what you're saying about the moon, but they can explain that away with the way it looks from the atmosphere, right? That our atmosphere blows up the moon, and there's no atmosphere of the moon, so it doesn't blow up the Earth. Something like that, which may or may not be true, but what I just said was enough of an excuse that would make anybody who wants to believe in the globe say, yeah, what he said. So we have to kind of, and that's what they're able to do. So I look for that one thing. That's why I told people a while back to really go through the old spacewalks, because I do think for sure that they're using scuba divers, and that I can see how they're hiding them, and I feel like there is video out there that they may have slipped at one point. I mean, that's the kind of thing, if you ever find a flipper in space, or you see a scuba diver that's cut and dry, that's the kind of thing that I would make copies of that CD and DVD and send it to every news media, newspaper, everywhere. I would just send the nonstop. I would just keep sending it out. So just keep your eyes open.
Yeah, just be sure and find a way to get it off of the. And not to discredit YouTube at all. That's where these days most of your best information comes from, once you filter through a lot of stuff.
Right.
But it's getting it off of this format and getting it onto something that the general population may look at it on a consistent basis.
Yeah, I agree. They've definitely got somebody who just searches NASA all day, and any video that comes up, they know where those videos are. So yeah, that's why I've always asked people to check garage sales for VHSs. There's so many missing missions. I started to make a list one time because I thought I'd be able to get a list of like what is missing. It's too huge. There's so many missions that are missing that you just can't find footage of. So it's like, where did that go? Those are the ones I think that have clear mistakes in them. A lot of the Skylab stuff is horrible. And that's one of the mistakes NASA made by putting out such shitty footage, which was all they could do in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s, that they can't do anything great now, because it would easily disprove that. So they kind of have to hang around in the middle zone. But I think we can easily prove that stuff. So yeah, appreciate the call.
Well, can I make one last point before I get off here?
No problem.
I was watching a documentary about secret swimming holes. Okay, and there was places where the water was so clear that they made people wear life jackets, because when they would get in the water, they would lose their orientation while they were in there. And
where's
it was
that?
so clear they couldn't really tell what was up or down.
Where'd you say that was?
And I thought, well, it was just some kind of documentary about secret swimming holes and stuff.
Oh, gotcha. Mm-hmm.
And, all right, so I started thinking, well, if that's one way to disprove gravity on the body, as far as you being able to feel it, I mean, that's a good way to prove buoyancy, is that when you're underwater and it's such a clear water like that, you lose your orientation, your body doesn't feel gravity pulling down on you. I mean, so naturally, if you're out of the water, you can feel your buoyancy because the air is thinner. You can feel your movement. You can feel the pressure on you. But in the water, if it was gravity in the water, you should feel that same pressure. But you don't, so you can lose your orientation really easy, especially if it's really clear. But anyway, I'll let you get on to another call. I appreciate you taking it, man.
Anytime. Appreciate the call.
Yeah, you do a good job.
All right, peace. All right, lines are back open. I think I figured out how to get that thing. Sorry about the hold sound, or when people are doing call waiting. Or maybe now I shut off the thing. Let's see. What's up? It's Jeranism.
I don't want to hold you long. I just want to ask a simple question regarding like a test. I was wondering if they're saying that Earth basically is supposed to be moving. Couldn't someone simply they probably done this already with either a helicopter or a drone, make it hover for an extended period of time at a, very standstill state and show that nothing ever changes.
Yeah, this is their unfortunate, kind of word salad, because they say that the atmosphere moves with the Earth. So even though one's, if you think of a train or a plane, picture a toy helicopter inside of an airplane. That helicopter would lift off the ground and it would hover there and it would stay with the airplane, but the whole group of it's moving. Now, of course, an airplane is an enclosed system where the Earth is not. But that's one of the things that they're able to explain away. So no, I mean, unfortunately, that's not.
Doesn't the star trail contradict that?
Well, I guess, but to them, they would say that the stars are outside of the atmosphere, and so what we're looking at as we spin would be looking through the atmosphere that's moving with us. Which again, I hate even explaining this stuff because I don't believe it. There's no way that at 30,000 feet off the ground that air is moving magically the same exact speed as the ground. It's just not happening.
Don't they argue that everything in the universe basically moves with each other? Like everything stays fixed in a sense, kind of like a web.
Well, I mean, not necessarily. I mean, because the stars are so far that they are fixed. And that, yes, we are moving with the other planets and the sun, and those other stars, even though they're fixed, are also moving at their own speeds, but it's so far away that it just cancels out. It's basically a 0.00002%. We would never see the changes. So this is the kind of thing that they've been able to do. They've just been able to, I mean, think about it. They say that the ocean in Australia is sea level, and so is the ocean in California. That those two places are level. They're able to get away with that, and people still think it's a ball, and they say no, it's level because they're equal distances away from the center. So I mean, that's just metaphysical to me. If it was true, then they would be able to show me evidence of that. But the only evidence they have of the very definition and phenomenon is the phenomenon itself. Which I don't know about you. I learned in school you can't do that. You can't use the word in a definition, and that's basically what they're doing. Is they're defining what happens with the water and the sea with the earth as their evidence, but there's no proof of that. It's just words.
I understand. Okay, well, I definitely appreciate you. I'm a big fan. I watch your videos all the time. I'm tuning into your live stream right now. I just wanted to take the chance to call in and, ask that question.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it.
All right, definitely.
All right, peace. All right, take some more. If you want to call in. Sorry, I'm eating something. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing to me is they just are... Yeah, it upsets me, the whole thing with the pulling to the center. What's up? You're on with Jeranism.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
How are you?
Tony.
What's up, Tony?
I'm pretty good.
Good.
Is this live?
You're live as it gets.
Oh, wow. Okay, interesting. I didn't think I would get through.
You made it.
I don't really have anything specific to talk about. I guess I would just maybe mention this one thing here. I try to mention flat Earth to my buddies and stuff like that, and they're always looking for answers. Like they want me to answer the question, prove the shape of the Earth. And I always tell them, it's not so much that I know the shape of the Earth. It's that I know when somebody's bullshitting me.
Right.
And that's what I try to tell them is if you just look at what NASA is saying, it just feels like somebody's blowing smoke up your ass. Absolutely. Am I wrong? I mean, do you guys feel the same way?
Absolutely. No, it's like your wife gets home with lipstick, or your wife gets home and she's got a guy's shirt on. You may not be able to.
Hey, don't talk about my wife.
I'm not going to say it. But you
go ahead.
Yeah, you may not be able to point out who the guy was or where she was or whatever, but you now know something's up, and that's how I think is everything that NASA does, and just they're a government agency. They're secretive. They're selling a big lie, And when you look at things like no 24/7 view from the ISS, look at what we're looking at tonight. They just got those cameras off all the time. And things that would be easily done if they were out to actually prove. I mean, people for
Right, if it was
years,
real.
Yeah, if it was real. In 40 years, people have been questioning the moon landings. If I'm a scientific entity and I see that 10%, 15% of the country questions the greatest thing that humanity's ever done, then you go back and you prove it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let's say, like, I claim something huge. It shouldn't be that hard. This is not like something that should be hard to prove. It's not something that's very like argumentative. Hey, we went to the moon. It shouldn't be very debatable. And yet, if you look at it, it is debatable. It looks fake. It looks like somebody is doing green screen videography bullshit, right? Like, it looks fake. It shouldn't. If it was that extreme, like, hey, we did the most extreme thing in the history of mankind. We landed on the moon. It shouldn't be hard to prove.
No.
And yet, when you look at it, it looks fake. Like, I was looking at just doing searches on Google about like the earliest spacewalks, or is that what they call it? Spacewalk.
Yeah.
Spacewalk. Yeah, that's it, right? Spacewalk?
Yep.
The earliest spacewalks that you can find, and I think it was like Ed White or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, it looks ridiculously fake. It just looks fake.
Oh, that's stop motion, yeah. And that's what
the
difference
stop
between
motion.
The difference between those who see it and those who don't is that simple. Is that there's people out there that look at that and say that's real because my heroes are doing it, and NASA's told me it's real, and therefore I'm just going to believe it. And there's those of us who can look at it and call a spade and say that's fake. And if you don't have that ability to look at something, then you need to really ask yourself if you're even a human. That that's the worst thing you can be, if you can't even question something. And that's why I know science is not what I was taught, is because the two things of evolution, which no one's ever been able to explain to me in any way, even close to making sense, and the other thing being the moon landings. And you're not even allowed to question it. And that's what science should be, is the ability to question these things. You're not allowed to. You have to just, it's part of the dogma of science. And you're absolutely right. It looks fake. All the old spacewalks look fake. The moon landings, it's not like they barely made it. It's not like they went and it was so close and they barely made it and they only went one time and you're like, okay, we'll go back, and they're like, wow, we almost lost. They went 6 times like it was nothing. Like, it was the easiest thing in the world to do. Just land there, play golf, stay there for 3 days.
Yeah. We just went up on the moon and hit some golf balls around. It was like a fucking walk in the park.
Yeah, it's just a joke, and that's what tells me.
Let me ask you this then. This is kind of takes it. Like we think about this like, hey, what experiments can we do? But what we're really talking about is not like reality when we're dealing with people that don't. I guess, I don't know, that I perceive not like seeing what's going on. We're not like, there's no experiment that you can do that will convince most people. You know what I'm saying? Like, what we're talking about is more like psychology,
right?
As opposed to like science. So like, what can you do? Like, for example, my brother, right? I don't know if you guys look at Sandy Hook. I mean, if you're talking about flat Earth, I pretty much can 99% say that you guys probably think Sandy Hook was a hoax.
Absolutely.
Am I wrong?
Absolutely. Yep.
So, like, when I bring that up, I have an identical twin brother, right? And I tell him, I said, how is it possible that two people that generally are exactly the same, one can think that it's real and one can think that it's a hoax? Like, obviously, there's some malfunction there. It's you or it's me. I don't know who it is, but there's one of us that is way off. Now, and he says to me, like, well, it doesn't affect me. And then he turns around and watches the Super Bowl. And I don't know if you guys remember, but the Sandy Hook Choir was at the Super Bowl.
Yep.
In, I guess that would have been 2015. So, my nephew, I'm telling him, I'm like, well, you say it don't affect you as you sit there and watch the Super Bowl and the Sandy Hook Choir singing it. youth, they don't fucking psychologically see that it affects them. Like, they're sitting there watching it and then saying it doesn't affect me. So my question is, and then I'll go ahead and hang up, and maybe this can be like a subtopic. Is like psychologically, like we're not talking about experiments in science. We're talking about psychology. Like we're talking about like how can people like go through a reality that is so skewed or so off and just believe what they're being told, regardless of the information that's in front of their face.
That's the one thing, because I think we all believed it originally. You know, I mean, I don't know anybody that saw Sandy Hook and knew the next day something was up. So, you know, me and I'm guessing you, it took somebody showing us the evidence, and then we went and searched, and then we had the ability to say, no, something's effed up here. Now, why is it that other people don't have that ability? You got me, but you're right. It's not about experiments, because at that point, there's really... I mean, you're right. I mean, if somebody already doesn't believe that the Earth is flat and they've looked into it, there's no experiment that's going to change their mind. That they've already looked at the evidence, which is that there is none for the Earth being a ball. That there is no way to measure it.
Well, let me interject real quick there and say that I see what you're saying, but at the same time, I used to think it was a ball. So something changed my mind. What changed my mind? Oh. But I mean, I guess it was probably like, you know, just a progression of like 9/11, Sandy Hook, the Boston bombings. It was sort of a progression. So my point is that I kind of agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm living evidence right now that like I changed my perception.
Well, that's
so
what I'm saying.
There has to be something.
We all did. We all were originally believers, right? So what I'm saying is, once you were given all the evidence and you actually spent the time to look into it, you came to the conclusion that the evidence weighed on the side that, you know, the globe doesn't make a lot of sense and it has some holes in it. So you were able to then stand up for yourself and say, I'm going to question this now. I'm going to I'm going to go and question it with my brother. I'm going to go and question it with other people. There's some people who don't have that ability, meaning they can look at the evidence.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So I don't know what that is, though. Why the reason is, I think it comes down to, intellectually, kids. They don't want to be in the group of people considered crazy.
Yes.
You know, I really think it comes down to that.
Well, I think you know what, and now I'm glad you like kept me on the line, because I could throw another topic that I think is important here, and is that, like, you know, it's kids, like, right, like you have kids, you have a job, you have to maintain a certain level of, you know, like, you have to fucking walk that line. I don't have kids, but if you do have kids and you do have, like, so let's say a wife, and you have that sort of standard thing, you have to do something specific to maintain that. And I think that's where what happens is your reality gets threatened, right? Yep. Like, you can't just say, oh, I have kids. Okay, all of a sudden I think my entire reality is false. Because then it makes it hard to maintain that.
Yep. And I'm living proof of that one, because, you know, working where I worked in 2001, saw 9/11 happen, you know, went into like a business mode. I had to order flags and patriotic things. And then I had a friend tell me about 2005 that it was an inside job. And I told him, you're a joker and don't talk to me about that anymore. And for the next few years, I may have thought about it in my mind and may have even looked into it on the internet, but I would have never even come to a conclusion about it, because it didn't impact my life. All I worried about was going to work, making my money, paying my taxes, raising my kid. So you're right, because my world is built around the lie. Everything that I do is that lie-based system. It took me losing my job and being working from home to really start to look into it and explore it. So I do think that's a major part. You're right. People who have a job and kids and a wife, they've got it. They're too tied into the system, whether they realize it or not. And that's the whole plan of the system, right? That's the goal of what
to wrap you up.
Absolutely. You have to be. That's why they get you with these debts. Somebody was telling me the other day, who was it? Vegan Warrior said that when he went to college, right when he walked in the gymnasium for orientation, that they had all these tables set up with $100 bills for anybody who signed up for a credit card. And that's the kind of bullshit.
Oh my God.
I mean,
he's probably the same year that I went to college, because that's exactly what they did. I went to a well-known college. Like when they do those like Time magazine like party schools of the year, the college I went to was like number 2 or 1. Okay, and they did the same thing. You would go to the dining hall, and as you walked into the dining hall, there would be tables set up with Visa and spending cards, or like credit cards that you could sign up for. And you would actually get, now back in, when I went to, this was in 99, they, cell phones weren't as big as they are now.
Right.
And a big thing was like calling your parents at school, like you had to have a phone card.
Right.
So what they would do is they would give away free phone cards, the credit card companies, and the colleges would basically allow them to do it from the dining hall. So when you walked into the dining hall, there they were. They're like, hey, here's a 30-minute phone if you sign up for this application.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The credit card application.
Yep. And then before you know it, you're in debt so deep that you have to work. There's no option to just, because they know if you stay home and have time to research and read and study, that you're going to be able to find this stuff.
You'll know.
But if you work
you'll figure it out.
9 or 10 hours a day, you're dead tired when you get home. You have time to eat. And when you're off for the weekend, you're usually maybe hanging out with friends, drinking. You don't have time to do the research that's needed to be done. So no, I totally agree with you. You nailed it on the head right there.
This is, and I'll go ahead and sign off with this. It's been nice talking to you guys. You mentioned the debt thing. This is a topic that hits right home, and I will mention this to everybody that's listening. If you are a student with debt, there is no debtor prison right now. Okay, there's literally nothing they can do to you can basically ignore bitches and you'll be okay. And I know that for a fact. Many people that I know that for a fact. Don't get caught up in that debt thing. Even if you got like hustled in the beginning and got wrapped up in debt, dude, forget about it. Fuck those people. Just don't answer the calls and you'll be okay.
Absolutely.
I'm not a lawyer or a doctor.
No, we don't give, it's just, these are our opinions. You're free to do whatever you want.
Yes, yes.
I appreciate the call. Yeah, nice talking to you. Yeah, I totally agree. Caller, 1 second. I was just going to say something about that, but I totally agree that I think that, imagine if everyone in the country decided tomorrow to stop paying their mortgage. There's nothing the banks could do. There's nothing they could do. They don't have enough repo agents, and what are they going to repossess houses for? Who are they going to sell them to? If everyone just said, no, we're not leaving here. We're not, you're not selling the house because nobody will buy it. And we all say, no, we're not buying it. We'll just move into that's the kind of thing that it might take one day to pay these guys back for basically frauding us for 100 years. What's up, caller? You're on with Jeranism.
Hey, I'm on with Jared.
Yep. What's up?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, yeah. Do I need to talk about the topic you were on?
Whatever you want.
This call?
Open topic.
Okay, so the problem with the sunlight at sunrise or sunset appears to shine on the bottom of the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
And people have used that as proof of around Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, do you have a good explanation for that? Because the whole perspective and the light coming in at a good angle doesn't.
Oh, it's
not adequate for me.
It's definitely reflection. So 2 good videos. If you look at P Brain's video, he does one, and also Rob Skiba. On Rob Skiba's, he just shows a smaller, scaled down version showing how that light can shine on the underneath of the clouds. And the P Brain one is even better, in my opinion. It's a reflection. Which reflections are trippy as hell, and people just don't. These are the kind of things that we don't ever even think about. We don't sit and ponder. But picture yourself looking across a lake, and then on the other side of the lake, there's some mountains and some clouds and some, going off to the horizon. When you look at that lake, the reflection that you see in that lake is dependent on you. Number one, nobody else sees the same reflection unless they're standing right next to you, and it's basically just a projection of exactly what you can see, right? So meaning that, anybody else looking from the other side of the lake is not going to see that reflection, but to you it's there, it's very real. The clouds are the same way. Picture when it's sunset, right? And we look off into the horizon and we see these purple clouds, or we see pink clouds, and we think, oh man, it's really beautiful. Look at the purples and pinks. Well, you have to think, the people who are underneath those clouds, they don't see the purple and pink. They don't,
Right.
It's not, so that's the same thing, is what you're seeing, the light that's lighting the bottom of the clouds, the people who are underneath those clouds do not see that, because it's not their reflection, it's your reflection, it's what you're seeing. And P-Brain does, and it's just P and then brain. And if you look it up, it's probably in his last 3, I think, videos for sure, that he did one on the lighting of the underneath the clouds, and he shows other examples that it's a reflection. It's the same idea as the reflection that runs to your feet from the sun setting. That it doesn't make a lot of sense, because you think, okay, well, I can see the reflection, but again, people 100 yards away from you they would go to their feet. Well, the clouds are the same thing. It's just a reflection the opposite way. So it's instead, now it's lighting the top, but you have to think of that as just like the water. It's not real. What you see on the water is not real, meaning it's real to you, but nobody else can see that. So it's your reflection. It's the same thing with the clouds. They're lit from the underneath to you, but to nobody else are they, unless they're right next to you or near you. But I'm saying that is not, it's not an actual thing. Just like it's hard to say that, because you're like, well, the reflection is actual, but it's not. It's just your viewpoint is showing you that reflection on the water. But we know it's not there because somebody 200 yards from you won't see the reflection there. So even though you see
you
it
can't
glisten,
touch a reflection. You can only touch
Right.
the object the object is reflecting off of.
Yeah. So if you
But
watch
it's
P-Brain's
still
video,
there.
you'll get it. And Rob Skiba does a good job of just showing how pulling that light away will light the underneath the clouds. And again, it is a perspective thing, because we've never seen sun rays go up, which would be
Right.
would be required. I've described it before with that house on top of a hill. There should be sun rays at some point in time that enter in the windows and hit the ceiling, but it never happens because the sun is never below your feet. So the sun is always above your head. It just happens to be when it's going away from you, just like a ceiling slanted down, just like something in, going to the perspective vanishing point, that the light from that point can then light the bottom of the clouds from your perspective. But again, somebody standing underneath those clouds wouldn't get the same effect, so it's not really happening.
Yeah, and I've been looking into this for a couple of years, and I've thought about this a lot. And maybe it's just that it's the light and the clouds are both so far away, and that light is going to come at us at a different spectrum, and maybe just enough of it is bleeding through the clouds to where we're seeing it those different colors.
Right. Well, yeah.
And it just appears that it's coming from underneath, but it's actually on top.
Well, if you look,
because we know the sun is always above the cloud.
Right, and if you look at, if you just go look at, sunsets or sunrises, look how many times that it doesn't happen. Meaning you see the sun
right.
below the clouds and they're not lighting the bottom. Now, if it was every single time the sun was setting, we saw the underneath of clouds lit, that's something I would say would be a pretty damning globe proof. But that's not what we see. We see it on rare occasions with different atmospheric effects, but there's sometimes that it doesn't happen. So what does that mean? Why wouldn't the sun always light the bottom of clouds when it's set or rose? So that tells me that it is a reflection. It is some sort of optical phenomenon.
Yeah, plenty of variables we don't know about. Okay, one more thing and then I'll go.
Yep.
If that's okay.
No problem.
Okay, so like I said, I've been doing this for quite a while. I've been into conspiracies for a decade or so. Came upon a flat earth a couple years ago. But I can't seem to get my wife interested in it. I can't seem to get her to realize, the deceptions that are going on in our world.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any advice on how to wake someone up to it, I guess?
That's a tough one because no, I mean,
Yeah.
I have the same problem with like my sister. I thought that she was coming along. I thought that she was going to come out as a flat earther soon enough, and she got to the point where she said, "You know what? I think that there's more of a chance that a bunch of guys on YouTube are wrong than there is a chance that the world's full of scientists are wrong." And she just kind of said that and said, "So as much evidence as you guys have versus what they've taught us, I think that chances are, this one's more likely than that. And she kind of was able to drop it at that. And that's what I thought was so strange, because I could never do that. I could never have somebody show me everything I've seen and just say, you know what, I'm going to give it to them, even though they've got no evidence, because I don't think that they can be fooled. And so it's just a different kind of person, I guess, because it's just something I couldn't do. I mean, I first learned about the map being wrong and the way they draw the equator all the way almost at the bottom, and was pissed, was livid, because I don't like the idea of being lied to on purpose ever. I mean, ever. I mean, sometimes there's just, and that's why, I can't stand these people out there that, 2.5 years and they still are saying, Jaron's a shill, he's doing this or that. It's like, whatever. I mean, the thing that I hate more than anything is liars. And so to get called that when all I've ever done is tried to come out and say, I'm going to be honest about what I see, my opinions, that's the most miserable thing about this whole thing. I thought when I started, hey, everybody will like me because I'm just going to tell the truth, and then I won't have any haters. You kiss that off right off the bat. And because it just is, I hate the idea of being lied to. And yeah, sometimes, our parents lied to us about Santa. Yeah, you get pissed at that, whatever. But I mean, when you're talking about lied to for the purpose of getting one over on you, right? It wasn't like our parents lied to us to get one over on us. That it was kind of like a cute little lie so that they could give us gifts, and we think that they came from some mystery man. But this is not what the lie that we're being told is. We're being told a lie so that people can laugh behind closed doors, and that they can be rich and powerful, and we're slaves who build their expensive homes and cars. I mean, that's the lowest dirt ball of all, and they actually think they're actually proud of it. They, to me, I had a friend that I lost a while back because he was a practical joker, and he played a practical joke on me, and many people might have. To me, I'm like, dude, we were friends, and you pranked me. Like that's the least cool thing you could do. Because to get, to
when
do that,
you lie to someone for their benefit,
right?
Like our parents did, they lied to us about Santa for our benefit,
right?
But when you're being lied to by the elite so they can benefit and to screw us over, it's not okay. It's never okay to do that to someone.
No, because nobody's, nobody is better than anybody. Because if you are better, or you have better, you were set up better by your parents saved money, and then that's something you should recognize, that hey, the only reason that I am more rich or powerful than these other guys is because I was put into this position, or I fell into some luck, and then you should take your life like that. I mean, it just bothers me that people think that makes them special. It doesn't make you special. It makes you less special in my mind. Trump and that kind of thing, when people were going, happy that he was getting elected, I just get pissed because I'm like, the guy looks at his bank account every day and has $16 billion in there, and I don't see him doing shit with it. That you don't need $16 billion. You don't need it. If I had $16 billion every day I looked in the bank account, I would feel like such a piece of shit. Because what am I doing with that money? How is that helping the world to just hoard shit to yourself and be like, this is mine and I earned it because my dad put me in this real estate? To me, that's just dirtball. I mean, you don't need that. Nobody needs that kind of money. And it's that guy lied. That guy fooled people to get where he is. Believe me, you don't get that rich without stepping on people's necks the whole way up. It's just not the way the world works. So, to me, that's why.
Well, if you are a disinfo agent and a shill, and I entertain that idea, but if you are and you're being paid to muddy the waters and all this nonsense, and you're doing a piss poor job, and they need to fire you. you're doing a great job exposing the flat Earth.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and thanks for calling. But yeah, no, not anything that the many names. I mean, I work for the Illuminati, Satanist, Jesuit, Jew, you name it. I work with everybody, I guess. You're on with Jeranism. What's up?
Hey, Jaron. I just wanted to go back to I think it was not the last caller, maybe the last caller. He was talking about the psychological warping that was being done on us.
Right.
I think that was I want to say Eric Benet.
Mm-hmm.
He did the psychological evaluation on the working class, didn't he?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that's a big problem with what's going on nowadays.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's hard to ignore it, and it's definitely done on purpose.
Yeah, and then there was something else that you guys were discussing. It had to do with things moving around. I was vaping in my car one day and took a turn, and my vape went behind me. And my car is like a closed system, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of gives some credence to some things moving, right?
Well, I mean, you had everything shut up. I mean, you didn't have any air conditioning on, nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, I guess now that I think about it too, I'm thinking that you would think you'd have some inertia or something that would keep it going, but I don't know. So you're saying you blew it out and it went behind you, like as you're driving?
Well, yeah, I just kind of like puffed it out. I didn't blow it out. I just puffed it out to see what would happen. And whenever I took that turn, it drifted behind me.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because you're right. If the inertia would keep the item going in the direction straight. So if you blow out that smoke, it's traveling with your car in a forward motion, and then you turn the car, you would think that it would. It's not going to turn with you, obviously. And how does our atmosphere turn with the Earth? Good question.
So that's really all I had. You're doing a great job, dude.
Appreciate it. Take it easy. All right, what time is it? Oh, 10. So I wanted to stop by now. So I'll take 2 more. What's up? You're on with Jeranism.
Whoa, what up?
Hello.
Hey, I was actually just seeing if the numbers still work. I actually feel like a jackass. I thought you screened these.
I don't screen the calls.
Oh, my bad. Well, I'm just going to give you a quick shout out and get out of your hair. So, thanks for doing what you do, man.
Appreciate it. Take it easy. I don't screen the calls at all, people. This is as live as it gets. You're on with Jeranism.
Hey, I was actually...
Hello.
What's up?
Jaron.
Yep.
This is Curious Jay.
Curious Jay, what's going on?
What's happening, man? Just listening to the show.
All right. Did you see I played your intro or your trailer?
Oh, the trailer for the podcast. No, I missed that part, man. Great.
I was at the beginning, yeah.
Good stuff, man. We appreciate that. So, yeah, I was listening to the caller, I think it was like 2 back, and it made me think of something. We're always looking for new mediums to spread the word, so to speak.
Right.
And, you've got a lot of individuals now working on the billboards, which I think is awesome.
Absolutely.
And and we've got, of course, Dave and I are working on getting a regular podcast up and running. But one of the things that Dave mentioned the other day that kind of took a couple days to really hit me, but he was mentioning how many eyes passed the billboard that the one he's trying to put up in North Carolina for the conference.
Mm-hmm.
And, he was saying that it's X number, 100,000, a couple 100,000 eyeballs that pass it every day. And we were like, dang, that's awesome. And, he said, and plus there's the kids. And we were talking about the fact that, like, the kids, when we say kids, like a teenager with a phone, let's say.
Okay.
The cool part is like they're in a passenger position, right? A lot of the times.
Mm-hmm.
And, we were both saying, like, yeah, they'll look anything up. You know what I mean? If they got a phone, boom, they're going to check it out right away, which is awesome. Like, it's an effective use of the billboard, But then I got to thinking even more about it, and I was like, are we missing the boat by not targeting kids with some of this information? Because I know that seems kind of, like, messed up, but aren't we starting the race? Like, we're starting the game with them so far ahead of us with the way that they are obviously targeting the kids with the Globe. You know what I mean?
Right. So what would you think is an idea to get them?
I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, one thing that, as a parent, one thing that I'm going to be prepared to do, I guess, probably when the kids hit the 9 age, the age of 9, 10, is to, maybe arm them with some questions, specific questions that they can ask their science teachers.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as that next little age group, the middle school, early high school, I think is a really, really good period when, students start to become able to think for themselves a little bit.
Right. Did you happen to see the Quora article from that girl who wrote in about that terrible person, jeranism?
Yes. How do we stop these flat Earth videos from getting to our kids? Yeah, it was incredible. Yes, success. And, and it was that, and along with what Dave was saying about the billboard was just maybe we're what is our goal here with the flat Earth thing? If we're trying to get NASA and the government and everybody else to cough it up and admit, that might take a while.
I'm not sure what ever happened.
Me neither. That's what I mean by a while. And however, as far as waking people up, and I think that the number of people who research this for themselves and come to the same conclusion that we have is just going to keep growing and growing, which is awesome. So if that's the goal, I'm just trying to think, maybe we should, YouTube is such a great way to spread knowledge, billboards, etc. But maybe we just ought to start looking into somebody needs to, whoever's a parent of the 12 to 16-year-olds, what are they into? How do you reach them?
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, being a parent myself, there's just no way to get through to children that age. At least I'm saying that based off one child. So it's better asked to other people. But and I think back to when I was that age, and there's nothing you could have thrown in my face that I would have cared about. So
yeah,
that's the way I sadly have to look at it. And that's just being honest that for me at 14, 15, 16, I have a million things on my mind, and none of them were anything about where I live or what shape it is, or
You're right, or whether or not what your teacher told you was scientifically provable. Yeah, I get it. It's just I'm trying to look at it like one of the reasons that this hits people so hard. One of the reasons we get such a what do you call it? Such a crazy reaction when you mention this to anyone at first is that because the globe has such a head start.
Right.
I mean, literally, my kids were coming up to me at age 2 or 3 and saying Earth, when they'd see a picture of a globe or whatever.
Reminds me of that Dave Weiss video where it's got the Earth, ball,
Earth,
ball.
Yeah. Ball, globe. Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
like,
it's
it,
unfair.
They're so far ahead of us that, that's the reason all of us, even the, guys like yourself who are out spreading the truth now. I mean, that's the reason we all laughed at it at first.
Right.
And so I'm just trying to put that out there for everyone who's listening. Like, it's great. I think we should keep up what we're doing. But when we're starting to think in other directions, like billboards and things like that, let's not forget the younger audience. Maybe the sooner we can reach them, the easier it might be.
Did you ever watch Julius Sumner Miller? Do you know who that is?
No, who is that?
Oh man, when you go home tonight, look up Julius Sumner Miller and watch him.
All right.
This takes you back to probably the 70s, and he had a public access TV show in Australia, I think, and he just teaches physics. He starts the show, my name is Julius Sumner Miller, and physics is my business, and hello, ladies and gentlemen. And then he goes through this list of experiments. But I think that probably did well for children, or at least teens back then, because it's really, but maybe doing something like that where there's this show, I can think of David Weiss would be perfect for it. and if we could actually show some practical things, maybe that would get them interested. I don't know. For me, like I said,
I don't either. Yeah,
it's a tough one for me.
Yeah, I'm the same way. One of the things that I did recently, had a little extra time. I was playing the Mr. Mom role for about a week or so, and I had a little extra time with the kids. And
grilled cheese sandwiches with the iron.
Yes, exactly. The grilled cheeses with the iron. You know the drill. And the flannel shirt with the apron over it.
Right, exactly.
And
Jack.
I had a couple hours extra with the kids to hang out. The weather was nice, and I was like, I'd been one of the aspects I'd kind of dove into for a while on the flat Earth stuff was, whether the rocket can it or can it not propel in space when it doesn't have anything to push against. And so I made the balloon rockets with the straws and stuff for the kids, where you put the balloon on a straw and then a string across the room, and you let the balloon out, you let the air out, and it flies off so they could race their rockets. We tied like 2 or 3 strings across the living room.
Right.
And just to get them seeing something at that age and then explaining to them the air and the movement and that sort of thing on a very rudimentary level, because my kids are pretty young. But, things like that, I think, can go a long way as far as like winning the battle long term.
Yeah, I think so. I think that
playing the long game.
You have to get them to see it before they're fully indoctrinated. Absolutely.
Yeah. Get them thinking that way, because if not, we're just sending them to the lions, so to speak.
Right, and I'd like to make changes that will happen in my lifetime, but I think we've already done a good job at what our parents didn't do, or at least my parents didn't do, which was ever tell me at any point that it was okay to question what I was being taught in school, or that there was a chance that maybe it wasn't true. And those are things I've already taught my son and told him, I've got different beliefs than what you're being taught. And everything you're being taught isn't necessarily the truth. It's just what the going belief is, or what they want you to think it is. And I think that's an important thing to teach children. We have to teach people to look at the evidence and then come to their own conclusion, because they've learned that by putting what the conclusion they want you to reach in your head, that then their job is mostly done. It doesn't, then the experiments and stuff like that don't even need to come, because nobody goes looking for them. People just believe the ball because that's what they were taught, and to think otherwise means that I just heard, what's his name say it, I can't think of his name now, but the guy that, David Seaman, who said that, he knows it's a globe because a hoax this big would be mathematically impossible. And so, when people believe something like that, what can you do? There's, people who've done scientific studies on how long hoaxes would last, or how long they could lie about something, how long secrets can be held. It's the dumbest study in the world, because how do you know which ones have not been told? Everybody.
Right. I was about to say, so the only data you can actually look at is the data of secrets that have been told and how long it took to get them out, but not the ones that haven't.
Right. Everybody's got secrets. Totally. I'm sure everybody has a secret that nobody knows. And so did you include that in your numbers? Of course not.
Yeah, right. That doesn't get factored in.
Nope. So it's things like that which just ridiculous. Tell me that these people, they're not able to look at information. It's just like the people who will come at me and say, how can this guy's such an idiot? He says the ISS is fake, but you can go outside and see it with your own eyes. That they don't grasp the fact that we realize that, but it doesn't mean that the light that you see in the sky is what they tell you it is on TV. That there's a disconnect there, where it's very simple for me to see that, okay, where's the proof? I've never seen those people take a camera over and shine it out at the same time somebody, they just fall into these, that's a fact. It has to be. There's nothing, it's the same thing when I talked to Red's Rhetoric, and I came to that brick wall to where he was saying he's seen crafts go to space. And I said, when have you seen that? He says, I see them launch. I see them launch, and they go up in the sky, and as they disappear, then I go home and they're in space on TV. And I'm like, yeah, they could have switched the tape, dude. And he's like, yeah, right. No, they would never do. And he won't get past that point. To me, it's an easy point to get past. It's not even hard to.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not proof. And that's why I think there's a difference between what some people consider proof and others. For me, there is zero proof of space or space travel. There's just none.
Correct.
You're talking about numbers.
No.
You're talking about CGI pictures. You're talking about images in the non-visible spectrum. You're talking about data. You're talking about mathematics. You're talking about equations, CGI. There's nothing in that tells me anything is anywhere near reality. And if it is reality, then I think that those things would be evident. I wouldn't need to have to go looking so hard for them and get to the point where people just turn around and throw it right back in my face, the same thing that I've already said I don't consider evidence. Yet they keep bringing it like, oh no, I'm not going to, that's not evidence to me. You know, well, let me show you how this equation works of gravity. I'll show you how this equation works. I don't care how it works. Of course it works out.
Yeah.
How could it not?
Right, like you're, I think it was a week or so ago a couple weeks ago when we were doing the episode of Raw together, and the astronomer guy called in, Bob, and I really have yet to hear anyone answer the question of, you know, they always give you the mathematical stars and the distances and the sizes and all that stuff as their proof, but when we asked them the question, you know, what is the difference between that telescope diving deeper into space and just blowing up a canvas painting of the stars?
Right.
He really couldn't answer that, and I don't know that anyone can.
No, same thing with a microscope, right? I mean, it is the equivalent of somebody you're stupid, and so they look at a leaf through a microscope and say, see that cell in there? That's the planet Cellular, and it's 13.2, million miles away.
Trillion.
Right, and somebody's just looking at the cell through the microscope and says, oh, that's really cool. Look, it even has a ring around it, and it looks like it has orbiting moons, and just buying into that. But we understand when we're looking at a leaf that you're just magnifying the leaf that's right in front of you. But for some reason, that disconnect is there when you're looking at the sky. Now you think you're looking through distances. It's just a magnification
now
of the sky.
We're being propelled millions of miles away.
Right.
When in fact, the lenses are the same. It's just enlarging what is in front of you.
Yeah, I think that the closest star is 25 trillion miles away, and the furthest that we can see with our eyes is 16,000 light years, I think. Which I need to figure out what that is. That'd be 16,000 times. I mean, it's just a ridiculous number, but you're talking about the difference between those two star distances is so astronomical, for a lack of better.
Boom.
Yeah, boom. But
I see what you did there.
Yes, but it's so vast. Why would all the stars look the same? I mean, why would they all render as these little pinpricks of light? And David tells the awesome number talks about the fact that a light, 8 light minutes is how far the sun is from us, and if you doubled that, how much smaller would the sun be? And that would be basically 16 light minutes, and then double that, and now we're at half of a light hour, and then double that, and you're at a light hour. You would lose the sun in half a day, in a light half a day. Let alone the closest star to us is light year. The closest star is 4 light years, 4 light years away. So I mean, it just you wouldn't see anything. You wouldn't see any of those stars. You shouldn't see them. Or if you're going to go off their whole theory that light travels indefinitely forever, then the whole sky should be washed out and look like a big white sheet. Because there's
it should be perennial daylight.
Right, 96 trillion stars or something. So it's obvious to me that the story they've told is a story based on math and based on ad hoc kind of explanations for things as they needed them. People forget that, Copernicus thought the sun was in the middle of the universe and thought that everything orbited around it and that it was 3 million miles away. And he was a mathematician. So obviously this guy is way off because then people realized, well, wait a second. You said everything orbits around these things. Well, how does the sun not orbit? The sun does orbit around. Okay, well, then if that is, then how does everything not? Oh, no, the whole thing orbits. Everything is just added on, and it created this disgusting mess, and now you add to that dark energy and dark matter, and you've got now something that is indistinguishable from reality. It's not even close.
From reality.
Yeah, it's just gone.
Completely, you're right.
So I don't know how you go backwards. How do you go back from there unless you blow the whole damn thing up? Because they know what happens. That's why they had to not... They'll tell you in one sentence that science throws out any theory that doesn't match observations. They tell you that over and over again. But when gravity didn't match observations, they knew the repercussions of getting rid of gravity.
Yeah.
You can't
get rid of it.
They
created a magic word.
Right, because then if you get rid of gravity, then people are going to say, well, how the hell are we a sphere? And then from there, the whole thing crumbles. So that's the problem with science, is that they do have these dogmas. It would be like finding out that, Jesus was a girl, and then it would just be, now let's change everything. And okay, well, he was a girl. It's the daughter of God. And, you would see it happening right in front of you. Be like, come on now. Like, you told us all these things, and now you're just changing. And that's what they're doing in space. They just change everything as, oh, well, we did mean that. And, oh, now there is the cosmic microwave background. Okay, well, what that is because, it's just whatever you throw at them, they're going to fit into their little world and change whatever they need to change. And I think Einstein even said it, if the facts don't meet the experiment, then change the facts,
Yeah. And, or as Neil deGrasse said on an interview that I watched the other day was, get your facts straight before you distort them.
Oh boy. Yeah. Too bad he doesn't take his own evidence.
Know your facts and then, then go ahead and distort them as you wish. I'm like, are you serious?
Okay.
Yeah, but real quick before I let you go, the last thing I'll say back, kind of going full circle about the kids. Remember, like I think 3 weeks ago when we were on the air talking, I showed you that that picture from the Kids National Geographic.
Oh, I'll bring it up actually because people would like to see that.
Oh, if you still got it, yeah, because I think it's important that we kind of I wasn't thinking about it as much. Like we both said the same thing. We're like, look at this damage control, but in reference to what I was saying earlier about trying to reach the kids, don't think for a minute. Don't feel bad about trying to reach the kids because don't think for a second that they are not actively, as we speak, turning up the other side.
Absolutely.
And it made me think of that National Geographic picture with the how do we know we're not on a flat Earth and blah, blah, even going so far as to acknowledge the theory of, when I was a kid, it was simply you'd fall off the edge. You'd fall off the edge.
Right, you never
But
saw
now
anything
they're
about an ice wall or
acknowledging
anything.
the Antarctica being the disk, the edge.
Right. Where is that image?
They're definitely actively turning it up on the kids' side, if you know what I mean.
Oh, for sure, yeah, it's without a doubt. And we've seen it. My wife and I did that video about the Werner von Braun teaching lesson, which basically taught children that the ends justify the means. They had them read a story about Werner von Braun as the SS soldier, and then had him read a story about him as the NASA hero, and then told the children that he was actually both people, and then teach people that that he had to do what he had to do to get to the moon. Like, it's okay that you it's just a terrible teaching lesson. And then they tell this story about this girl comes home from school and she's going to get in a fight, and her friend finds out that she's going to get in a fight, so her friend goes and pops her tires on her bike. And it's like saying that the ends justify the means there, because you had to do that. You had to pop the girl's tires so she wouldn't get in the fight. It's like, you don't want to be teaching children that. That's not the way we were taught at all. We would be taught to get an adult, have a conversation with them, not go pop their freaking tires. And that's what they're teaching children.
Tires, get what you want.
Yeah, that's what they're teaching them now. So it's totally completely. And my wife and I had a hard time realizing why there's that disconnect with my son. And then we found out it's just the way that they're teaching. They're teaching them to be different than their parents, which creates strife. It creates a
yeah.
Oh, here, this is here. We're talking about the is it National Geographic? Is that what that is?
With the kid picture?
Yeah. What would happen if the Earth were flat? That one, right?
Yeah, what would happen if it were flat? It tells the little story and mentions the Antarctica being the perimeter that would hold the,
So tell people where this was that you found it.
So yeah, this was last Christmas of 2016. My folks ordered a subscription to the Kids National Geographic magazine, and so it showed up. The first one, there's always like a little delay. The first one showed up like January or February or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thumbing through it because I'm so science skeptic. I'm such a mainstream science skeptic these days that I'm thumbing through it, and it's like, oh, here's an article about a cheetah, oh, the seal mating pattern, and then all of a sudden I spot the little picture of the kid in the corner, and I must have my jaw hit the floor. Like,
yeah,
this
I'll
is
read
unbelievable.
I'll read it to people. It says, what would happen if the Earth were flat? And then it shows a sign that says, end of Earth, watch your step. And it says, this alternate world would be flat out weird place to live. On our real life round planet, gravity presses everything towards Earth's core. But if our world were a flat disk, gravity would push everything towards the middle, causing seas and lakes to pool together in the center. Moving around the planet would be difficult since you'd really start to feel gravity push against you anytime you traveled too far from the middle. But a trip to Earth's rim which according to some might look like Antarctica, would be worth it. From here, you could peer over the edge for a stunning view of space. Sorry, it was hard because it's a small image.
Yeah.
So they're definitely putting in overtime at, popping out this propaganda.
Yeah, at Global Corp or whatever it is that they
Globe Inc.
Wherever they do it. Yeah, Globe Inc. They're definitely and I just found that so telling because when I grew up, and I think you know my wife, anyone I've talked to, that what we remember in school about them telling us about the flat Earth was always the same. It was like, oh, people used to believe it, and they thought you'd fall off the edge until Columbus and Magellan and the boats in the horizon.
Right.
But no one ever mentioned like Antarctica being the rim, the perimeter that holds it all in.
Never.
Like that is obviously taking what is being put out there on YouTube, much to the chagrin of the Dallas teacher or whatever her name was.
Right.
But they're obviously trying to counteract this stuff.
Yep.
Or else they would have never even mentioned it, because it was never even mentioned to me. Like when I was a kid, it was always like a square, or like a flat Earth was given to us like a big square with a table edge. That was the image that was given to us. Now they're actually admitting, recognizing the Antarctica stuff. I just found that mind blowing, very telling.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell everybody when your show starts and what it is, and then I'll let you go.
Yep. I'll let you run, man. We start up on July 31st. Dave from Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole and myself, and we are going to try to, provide a audio show podcast. We're already up on iTunes. You can go ahead and head over there and hit subscribe now. But it's the Flat Earth Podcast. Going to have a lot of interviews coming up, man. We'll hopefully get you to show up on there every now and then, Jaron.
No, I don't like Dave. He's a shill.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, my bad.
No, if there's any flat earther in this world, it is Dave Weiss.
Yeah, there you go. No, I don't know if it's up. Actually, iTunes told us we put the teaser up on iTunes, but I think it'll take 2 days before the Flat Earth Podcast will show up when you search. But if that's giving you a problem, just go ahead and go to the Facebook page, the Flat Earth Podcast.
And you also have a website, right? flatearthpodcast.com.
Yep, exactly. So
very cool.
We're getting it all up and running. Dave and I got so excited. We threw it all together in just a couple days. So looking forward to talking lots of flat Earth. So when you're on your drive, you can check us out.
You have one listener, I'll guarantee that. So I'm sure you'll get plenty more.
Sweet.
Hey, thanks, Curious. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, Jaron. Later, bro.
Later. Okay, dokie. So that was Curious Jay, who's going to be doing a podcast with David Weiss coming up. 175 missed calls. This is fun. One more. We'll see if we get one more in, and then that's it. Because I'm going to try and get up at 4 in the morning to see the ISS. Perhaps you're on with Jeranism.
Hey, Jaron.
What's up?
This is James.
What's going on, James?
Oh my God, I got a quick question, man. And you probably covered it already, but I missed it. Okay. I watched a video today about the sun, getting back on the sun aspect. The sun was actually surrounded by the clouds. Can you give me your opinion on that?
Yeah. Well, whoops. Hold on a second. I just dropped my pencil. It depends if which one you're talking about. But yeah, I mean, usually first thing you want to check is, does it look like reality? Meaning, are they using a filter? Because you can do crazy things with cameras. It's the exposure value, I think, which they call the EV. On my camera, I can knock that down to a -2 or take it up to a +2, and you get such a vast difference of image because you're reducing the amount of light that the camera takes in. So it seems to me whenever I see these quote-unquote clouds behind the sun images, they've reduced the EV down to like -2, which means they've taken all the light out of the image. And when you do that, you're not going to get what happens in reality, which is the cloud being washed out by the extremely bright sun. I mean, you've never looked at a cloud, right, and had to turn away because it's so bright. Of course not.
Yeah, right.
But the sun is that bright that you can't look at it. If you've tried, some people have taught themselves to do it. But as far as just taking a glance up and hitting the sun, that's going to hurt your eyes. You're going to see little dots for the next few minutes. And what that tells you is that sun is extremely bright. So when you see these clouds that appear to be going behind the sun, to me it's so obvious that they are just being washed out by the sun, and it's because the sun is so bright you don't see the clouds that are going right in front of it. So of course you can see the cloud to the right of it, like entering that area, so it looks like it's going behind. The other thing is, and I wouldn't even say that there's not a chance that to us it might render at times that looks like clouds are behind the sun. I'll even give it that, but I know where the sun is. You know, all you need to do is get up in any weather balloon, like Dwayne Kellum's channel. Once you get up in these balloons, you see that the sun is always way above the clouds. And that's kind of the same thing I was talking about earlier. I was talking about the light from underneath the clouds from our perspective may look lit, but if you called your friend over who's standing underneath those clouds and say, what do you see above you? They would just say, oh, a cloud 10,000 feet above me. Even though to us it looks like, you know, is the bottom lit? No, it's not lit, because it's independent of, it's dependent on the person. So I think it's the same thing with the sun, meaning there is a chance that what you're looking at as it renders through the atmosphere, it shows you where the sun is. Maybe there's a chance that you see clouds behind where it's rendering. But to then say there's clouds behind the sun, therefore we're in a simulation, or therefore this or that, is neither here nor there. What difference does it make? It's rendering to you. You know that's not where it's at, that it's above the clouds. And so if it's rendering to you, you know, that's not impressive to me. It's not. I would never bank anything on that, and especially because I've never seen a good video footage of clouds behind the sun, and we can bring that one up just to show people. But I've never seen one that actually looks anything other than a filtered image. It's not the regular image that we see of the day. It's not puffy white clouds and blue sky and there's the sun. It's really dark orange. They've taken all the light out of the image, and then they're showing you clouds appear to go behind the sun. They don't go behind the sun, though.
Yes, that was my point, too, because I was looking at it. It was a very good video, too. And the sun was practically at sunset. I'm saying still, with your lens, there still should be so much glare that you can't get that image behind the sun. Is that correct?
Well, again, I'm bringing one up here, and I don't know
Before
if
you
you
go
can
on
see
a
it.
date,
Sorry.
you have to find a dating.
Turn that off.
Go to top 10.
I don't know if you can see it. Sorry, but come on, get over there. So this is a video of sun or clouds behind the sun, supposedly. But again, this is not. It's all orange, and it's still, the sun is extremely bright here. It looks extremely bright. Now it looks like the sun is dipping into a group of clouds, but it's not. Those clouds that are there on its left are actually in front of the sun, but the sun washes them out. Now, if you looked at this with your regular eyes, you'd be able to tell that. You can tell what's going on, but not when you've taken it down with this filter. This filter has reduced the light to the very minimum, so now it looks like those clouds, because you don't see them at all, right? It just looks like clouds are going behind the sun. So to me, it's evident. And you know, Awake Souls likes to say this all the time. I mean, Awake Souls, the other day he said he's looking at a sun way off in the distance. In fact, this video might be it. And he says, you know, how far is that sun? It's, you know, probably 3 to 5 miles. It's like, what? No, that's not how far the sun is. The sun is much, much further. Is this the one here? And you know, the whole idea of birds behind the sun. I mean, it's outrageous to think that. I mean, we know where the sun is. It's above the clouds. So yeah, can it render to you, to your perspective, to look like you're seeing? Well, yeah, you're looking through clouds and then seeing the sun above them. So if it's rendering to you a little closer, might you see a cloud behind it? I guess, but you know it's not behind it. I'm trying to think of something where you could equate it to something else we see in life, and I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But something that, you know, we know that's not the case, even though it appears to be that. You know, I think that there's other examples. Just like, you know, I have another picture up earlier that was showing a big long hallway, and you know, even though the furthest post looks very small compared to the close one, we know that they're the same size. You know, a fence post, it's going to get smaller with distance. Well, it's the same thing with the clouds. You just have to know what you're looking at. But to me, it's obvious. Why is every single video, and so far we've watched 3 of them. Hopefully everybody's watching what I'm seeing. Why are
I'm
they,
looking at your video now.
Okay, so why are they all this orange color? Why are they all this is not real? By the way, this is a really good video right here. I'm going to pause it for a second. you can actually see.
And I think that's the same one.
Same one.
No,
what?
that's not the same one I saw today.
But see, okay, so
But
look at-
the
see right here?
oranges are exactly the same.
Yeah, they're always the same because what it is it's the lowest light setting that there is. So when you do that, you've taken clouds that you could see with your eyes and you've reduced them to their basically nothing. So then it looks like clouds are going behind it. But if you just took your eye out of the camera and looked at it in reality, you'd see it. We don't see any clouds behind the sun video unless it's that deep orange. Let me see if he's got more. You know, so to me that's why it is because people are using a filter. You know, the same thing happened with the people were taping stars for a while and showing that kind of circular disc that was, I don't know, there's a whole bunch of videos of it, of people doing that with stars, which was just because of the camera, that the camera was doing that for everybody because they were on a setting. So we got to be careful. I mean, cameras are not, for me, and this is why I hate GoPro lenses, is because for me, a picture is awesome when it depicts what I see in reality. That I don't want to, I don't want to see a picture that sphericals the earth. What do I care about that? That's not what I see ever. So why would I want that? I don't want a picture that HDR brightens the image or makes it look fancy. Because to me, that's art. That's not really photography. If I'm going to look at something that's a photo, I want to see what I see in reality. That's an impressive photo to me if it's clear like I see it in reality. But that's not what we get. We get a lot of these people taking images like this orange thing. I mean, they should be smart enough to say, well, I'm taking this with a filter, or I'm turning down the UV, so to just put it out to everyone as proof that we live in a simulation is not an okay thing to do. You know, it's proof that the sun renders. That's it.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That was it. I was just saying it's proof that the sun renders.
You've just put up the video for one I saw today. The part 3 definitive proof. Blah blah blah. Yeah, and you know what? I should have noticed earlier. It's kind of time lapse because the sun goes beneath the clouds really quickly. I should have noticed that and should have known it's not real.
Yeah, and time lapse. I mean, you know, I could still be happy with time lapse footage. I wouldn't say that it means that it's not real because time lapse is just a picture of one spot. But like this image here, when you get this orange, you'll see it here shortly.
Yeah, but the clouds didn't move at all, but the sun was moving.
Oh, good call. I'll have to check it out. You know, I don't think very many people are faking footage, but I think what they're doing is using filters. And like this is just not what you see. It's not. So to say that this is like here, he's showing and saying that these clouds are going. See right there, it clearly goes in front. But he's saying the rest of those clouds are going behind it. Well, yeah, because you've reduced their light down to nothing. So now it looks like that, but that's just not what's happening. Those clouds, you can see that white puff group that's going by on the right side there at 3 o'clock. It looks like that's behind the sun. It's not. It's going right in front of it, and you've taken all the light out of those clouds, so the sun is completely over brightening it. And I mean, we know you couldn't even look at this picture. Your eyes would be destroyed.
Right.
So I mean,
exactly.
I know. To me, it's just like obvious, and that's. And again, I like everybody looking into things. If these guys want to look into things, and that's fine. But instead, because I will refuse to say that is, they put my picture on every thumbnail and make asses of themselves. So, what are you gonna do?
yeah, really. I just keep my eyes up, keep my heads up.
That's all you can do.
And just looking and being observant. You've already got the ground and the water covered. I'm looking to the skies now. As a matter of fact, I got another question. What do you think about the transparent moon? You can see the stars through the moon.
You know, I've never seen that, so I'm not going to say that happens. Have you seen
many videos on it?
You've seen it?
Yeah, many videos on it. I haven't seen it personally, but I've seen videos on it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it personally either, so I'm gonna hold off judgment on that. But it definitely appears to be transparent. You know, during the day it looks blue as could be.
Yeah.
So you know, but as far as I actually saw, and I'm trying to remember what it was, is either Venus. Yeah, I think it was Venus last year. We were at the hotel, so it would have been December of 2015. And we watched Venus go behind the moon. And it didn't show. In fact, I mean, went right up to the point of the moon, and then it disappeared behind it, and then it was like a crescent moon, not crescent, but like a half. And we waited for it to come out, and it didn't come out until the exact point of where the circle moon would be, even though you couldn't see that part of the moon. And we've got video of that too. But I mean, that's just my observation, which told me that if it was see-through, we should have been able to see it during that whole time. But again, those things would be easy for them to manipulate as well. I'm real anxious.
Yeah.
I'm real anxious for this eclipse this year. I think that.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it also. Yeah.
I think the weather's going to suck because I just have that feeling. But hopefully we do get to see something and everybody gets good camera shots of it and find out what's going on. Because, again, NASA, and I'll talk about that. I appreciate the call, though.
No problem. Let me get off so you can get other callers in. Let me just say I've been following you for like the last 3 years. You're doing a great job, dude. Keep it up, all right?
Appreciate it so much. Thanks, guys. I really, it means a lot to me because it is not easy. A lot of hate out there. Sometimes you get discouraged, but you just keep going forward. So I'm gonna end calls, and I'm gonna try and do this once a week so that it's just better to talk to more people than I ever get a chance to. How do you shut this thing off? And then I want to see this, but 1 second. Where is the little Skype button? Oh, there it goes. All right, so just looking at this one more time before I head out. I don't know how those two pictures are supposed to coincide. These things are supposed to both be live, and it just doesn't look like the one on the left. I don't know what that's supposed to be looking at all. Oops, are you guys even looking at what I am? Oh, you're good. I actually got it right one time. What is this thing? Close that. So, I'm just going to watch this for a second. And, what do I think is going on here? I don't know. If you've ever seen me go to the JSC site, and we can go there real quick and kind of look at that. That I know that there's a high altitude plane up there because you can go to, if you go to ISS, JSC, I think it's EOL or EJL or something. Usually I just type in that in the search and it's the first thing that comes up, this right here. If you go to this site, this is the best proof that there is for, oops, what is this? Yeah, so you go up here and you go, wait, this is not what I thought it was. Here it is, Gateway to Astronaut Photography. So if you go to this site here and go to latest ISS imagery, you'll get, these are the best pictures that prove to me that without a doubt there's a high altitude plane. How high? I don't know. These come in about 3 to 5 days after they're taken. You can, and usually we'll see some better ones here. But, these are without a doubt images in my mind. They're certainly not CGI. Now, when you get to these kind of images here, these ones I do not think are necessarily, I think this bend is fake. Let's see if we can get a bigger one here. Oops. And so you can take this little zoom in brush here or box and actually look. But again, we don't get to see any of this stuff live. But the high altitude plane stuff is, they all look like Saturn. The high altitude plane, you can take these images. They're 4928 by 3280. Let me go back here and get out of this. Move. So these ones here look like this is a bent image. How do I get back to that thing? Oh, here we go. So these ones here tell me that there's a high altitude plane, but I don't think the images of the curvature are real. But these ones here, like, these are not, in my opinion, CGI, anything like these. If you pull these up, God bless it. Just thinking, if we ever put these all together like a puzzle, that would be a pretty good map. So down here, this is actual photography. Now, is it 250 miles? No. That I don't think is true. What are these people inside of a volcano? That's a safe place. But these to me, I've never heard anybody say that they think these are fake or fabricated, especially the ones looking straight down. The ones then they just change it and they're looking out. They don't look right to me. But here's a sunrise. Let's see this one here. So this right here, look at how flat that is. And I mean, this is planes fly this high. Planes. So I mean, this is not 250. This is not 50 times higher than planes fly, which is. But again, it does tell me that I think that there is high altitude planes. I don't think that. Look at these ones. I mean, I've seen plane footage that high. I don't know about you guys, but planes fly this high. So I think some of it may be manipulated, but for the most part, go this way. Hate this cool iris wall or whatever it's called. And yeah, and the other thing I've done before, I don't know if you guys want a free time lapse maker, it's called, I just got it the other day, it's called time lapse monkey. Yeah, time lapse monkey, I think. So I could take all these images and basically save them. There you go, Brock. Take all these images and save them, and then put them through a time lapse, and it'll just, you can tell it how long you want each frame to be, and it just creates an MP4 movie for you. But again, look at these images. You can't. Does this look like what we were seeing in the ISS live? So how are these pictures being taken? But again, the ones that look down, I do think are from high altitude planes. These ones, though, I don't think. What is that? I just want to look at this little atmosphere here. I don't know why it's yellow. The yellow atmosphere of the Earth. Let's see these in here. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm looking at. They're just like little sphere ball. What are these, man? Oh, come on. Well, I look dumb now because I said I believe this stuff is real as far as the ones looking straight down. This is not real. I don't know if you can see those like I can. They're like little spherical, even though they're stars, or I guess, multiple thousands of light years away. That's ridiculous. Yeah, so, and they always make it's always such a big difference. I mean, look here on the right, you can see the planet pictures with the curve, and then all of a sudden when they go to the ones that are straight down, they look completely different. They look like they're actual images. Still looking at the globe pictures. These ones here, this is ridiculous to me. I don't know how you would take this image here, but planes fly that low. Not 250 miles. And like these ones here, I have no reason to doubt them. They look legit to me. I mean, yeah, that looks very real. That is a boat. This is all land below. But again, how high is this? I mean, not much higher than a plane, right? Twice as high as a plane? I would give it that. 50 times as high? No way. Yeah, even with your super zoom, you're not going to get that clear. And again, remember, this thing's moving at 17,000 miles per hour, taking images like this clear. It's not happening. I think they're in a slow, high-altitude plane. And that's all that it is. Yeah, and actually, I'd say it's a bad batch. Usually each batch, like I said, it'll be back in a couple days. But there's lots of search functions in here. You can even go to Tools, and then you can go over here to Batch Image Download, and then you just put in the start frame and end frame. So whatever it said over there, put those two in, and then you can pick small or large and hit Submit, and you actually get a zip folder full of however many. I think it only does 100 max. But then you can take those 100 max and put them into Time Lapse Monkey. Let me make sure I'm saying the name of that program right before I tell people about it. Time Lapse Monkey. Yeah, Time Lapse Movie Monkey. And it's free. You just download it, and then it's easy. Load up the folder with all the images in it. It sorts them by date or time, and then you can make a movie that way. Because I didn't know how to make a time lapse, so that's how I'm doing it. All right, I'm going to bed because I'm going to get up early, and I probably, if I do go live, it's just going to be to turn on the screen recording while I'm outside, so you might not see me in the morning right away. It might just be the screen up while I'm outside filming, and then if I see anything or don't, either way, I'll probably come back in and load it up. So if you are an early riser tomorrow, how many hours are you? 11, 5 hours, 6, 4. Okay. So, yeah, I think it's at 4. We'll look at it real quick just so I know when that is. And that's n2yo.com. One thing I was thinking while I was taking calls, I'm wondering how far it would go if I made a video challenging NASA. Not challenging, but just saying, hey, here's an excellent way to make money for education, whatever it is that would sell them. Send a camera to the moon for the eclipse, film it on a live stream, and have companies put their logos on it, or have different advertisements, not advertisements like commercials, but like a little emblem in the lower left-hand side or something that says, I don't know, get fat at Burger King or whatever. And maybe that would sell them. I don't know. Maybe that force them that way, and then people can ask the question if they don't do it, like, why not? Why wouldn't you do that? Because you'll make more money than it costs. Especially if they did like a 3 or 4 day time lapse, the amount of people on the earth that would tune in, I would think the advertising would pay for itself. But I'm not the boss of NASA yet. It's coming soon, 2019. Let me see here. Where's the where do I go? Visit space station. Just trying to see what these passes are for tomorrow. Where is this thing? Streamline. Oops. What happened? Where do I go? Add space station, your satellite tracking. Where did I go? Thought this thing would tell me where to. Species 10-day ISS prediction passes. This one. So I know what time I'm waking up tomorrow. Okay, so, and it's back-to-back excellent views. So we have 4:30. Oh, so I got the times wrong. 4:30 a.m. is the 69 degree. And then at 9:13 p.m. is the 87 degree. It's a negative 2.5. That's like the best I've seen. So I'll zoom in on it, see what I can get. So yeah, 4:30 even? What'd I say? Local time 4:35. And is that going to be at 69 southeast, 127 northeast? Oh, that's a good path too. That's a good one. Yeah, so check it out if you want to check out tomorrow. And last time we did it, I shot my laser at it, and we saw it darting and diving, which gives me the impression that it's some sort of balloon, or it could be lighter than aircraft that is just zooming around some magnetic track up there. Who knows? Could be many things, and we're going to zoom in on it and see what we can find. So I appreciate everybody in the chat for being good sports, and appreciate all the callers. You guys were very kind. It's nice to talk to people who see the same thing, and I'm certainly not saying that I'm right, but I'm saying that I'm honest. And so that's more than you get from your mainstream news and your other nonsense that's out there. And for all the haters, keep on hating. It doesn't bother me. If you don't get it by now, you just further prove that you're terrible researchers. That's the way I look at it. Anybody who at this point is still on this whole idea of I'm a shill, or Mark Sargent's a shill, or Patricia, I don't know who is a shill. They could be. I'm not saying that they're not. But at this point, I'm into letting people be people. If they want to do an interview show, and then that's on them. Who am I to impede on somebody else's wants? If they're not hurting anybody, and I see them talking about flat Earth, same thing with IPS. Do I agree with everything IPS does? No. Do I agree with everything John does? No. Do I agree with what Bob does? Nope. That's not. I don't want to live in a world where I agree with everyone and we all are the exact same. I want to live in a world where I can watch what other people do and then craft my life based on, what I see. And so, do I like John? Do I like Bob? Do I like IPS? Yeah. They're fellow flat earthers. I feel that they're looking for the truth. They have their own path and their own ways to go about it. And again, I'm not going to impede that until I see somebody doing something clearly hurting other people. And so far, I haven't seen that yet. I see people freely going into chats or freely watching shows by their own fruition and their own will. They're not being dragged places. They're not being forced to do anything. But you are being forced to pay taxes. You are being forced to send your children to schools where they're being trained and taught in the ways of deception, courtesy of the space agencies and a scientific body that has become as dogmatic, if not more, than the churches around the world, and doing more damage. I mean, they're doing extreme damage to this world by teaching the atheistic viewpoint and I understand why people are upset at the ideas of God that we've been handed, because a lot of them are bullshit. And it's something that I don't think anybody can properly define. So it's easier for me to chalk it up to that and say, okay, I forgive them because they're all trying to describe the undescribable, and leave it at that. But a lot of people go so much further, and I agree with that one caller. It's my advice. I'm not a lawyer, but you don't owe what these people say you owe. You don't need to owe it. Just be smart. Just be intelligent, and weigh options, and look at evidence, and come to your own conclusions. And it feels so much better to walk around with a belief system that you yourself crafted. My entire life I walked around with a belief system that was crafted for me, and it was a very scary place to be, because you never really knew where you stood on any issue. And now I know where I stand, and that's if I end up being wrong, then I can only blame myself, because I didn't properly weigh the evidence or look at the situation. And I can live with that, but I can't live with just being a believer and a parrot, and simply repeating what men say, because they don't know. And if they do tell you they know, they're lying. So I'm not telling you I know. I'm telling you that I know I'm honest. And in that, there is no lie. So be kind to each other, and don't lie. That's what you got to remember not to do. And we'll see you tomorrow morning if you want. Open your mind, because there's truth inside. Till next time, guys, this has been Jeranism. Peace. If you've tried Facebooking me or Twitter, I might get to it for a day or two and kind of clean up as much as I can, and then I let it go, and I might not see it for a week or two. So I'm not very good at getting back to everyone. I wish I could. But I am 100% on ask.fm/Jeranism, because it alerts my phone, and usually people are pretty cool about not overwhelming it, meaning, don't ask me 1,000 questions, but I'm getting questions there, and I answer everything within 24 hours. So ask.fm/Jeranism is a good place if you just have some sort of question to ask there. And so let me get the phone set up. Again, the phone number. Oh, let's go check out the ISS. We're going to do that too. By the way, it's not, it's terrible looking here. That's why I didn't do the, didn't look at the ISS, but I'm hoping that tomorrow at 4:20 a.m. or 4:30, whatever it was, they're supposed to be, my best view in quite a while, 87 degrees, I believe. So I'm going to check that out in the morning, and let's go check out what it looks like now. Where is it? Maybe not. Not that one. Not that one. Where did it go? 1 second. This one. Okay, let's go check it out here. So this one here. Now this page that I'm on is you can go to my website. Thank you very much. You can go to my website, which is jeranism.com, and if you go up to the top and hit more, there's an ISS viewer, and it basically, you can get the map here with the current location of the ISS, and then you get both camera feeds. So you just hit play on both these. These are the two live feeds that they do have. And so while I'm taking calls, I'm going to go ahead and play this in the background. Again, we're getting the same thing we were. If you watched GLOBEBUSTERS earlier, we were getting... Let me make sure I turn these volumes down, because if I forget, then I have to hear them talk. Okay, get those down. And let me see, zoom out and see where the sun is. So we've got a ways to go in the dark still. So I don't expect to see anything. Again, you never see any lights down here. Anybody's camera would be able to take that. Your just normal $200 camera would be able to auto adjust and easily see the lights below. It's just crazy because if you go here and go ISS at night, that was a nice type, ISS at night. And of course we see this. So I don't know about you, but that's quite a big difference between this and the live view of this. And of course they've got every excuse in the book. Would you ever expect it to be anything different? I certainly wouldn't. So you got this, you've got this, you've got all these beautiful night pictures, this. So what they're trying to say, I guess, is that this picture here you wouldn't be able to see if you just took a picture. If you just turned on your video camera and started filming, you would get this. But by somehow setting the exposure to open the lens longer or the shutter, then you get these glorious pictures like this. So, hey.
Have been, honed and fine-tuned by NASA over decades. So this is, I think we're finally entering, I believe that we are entering a new golden age of space and space exploration. And that the time has come for that to happen because we as a species have up-leveled ourselves in terms of technology. We're ready to do it now. It's amazing that we did it in 1969.
So,
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, Bezos. Yeah, and I saw somebody in the chat say he's creepy. He is absolutely creepy. And the next video, and you might have seen this. It's a deep pool dive, I guess, like the world's deepest pool. But a couple things I wanted to point out in this dive. One thing I always get crap about regarding bubbles in space is people saying, well, these bubbles, they don't go straight up. They don't look like bubbles. They're not circular. They are disc-shaped. Lots of different complaints and comments about bubbles in space. But I want you to watch this video and watch the bubbles and also watch the cleanliness of this pool. And imagine NASA, who's got a giant tank, much the same. It's filtered out and it's dark. And tell me if this looks like a spacewalk. I'm actually going to turn that volume down so I don't have to hear that, or maybe it'll save me a copyright. So if you just watch here, you can tell that this pool is obviously ultra clean, ultra filtered. But when we do see bubbles, we're going to see them going not straight up, as one would expect. We're going to see them going off to the side. So we'll just keep watching here. Hopefully you can see it as clearly as I can. And again, if this is a dark room, like they are doing spacewalks, you're certainly not going to see the kind of bubbles that people expect. I don't know how this guy holds his breath for this long. That's crazy. And say, watch these bubbles. See these bubbles here on the right? So those aren't anywhere near circular. They're going in different directions. Very disc-like. Hopefully you can see them good. Sometimes you can't quite get the same look I have. A lot of the shadows look the same as we see. Pretty crazy. So just so, a lot of people think ocean. And there's actually some good videos of that. I don't know if you've ever looked into the deep drilling that they do, deep oil drilling that they do in the ocean. Even that looks like the ISS to me. So those are the only two videos. I just wanted to show you those before we got going. And besides that, I just wanted to take calls, a chance for people to ask me whatever or comment whatever, because I cannot possibly get to everything that I want to get to.
Astronauts to the moon.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage. Mirage.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jeranism, back with another video for you this evening. Sorry getting going a little bit late here. Was trying to let Flat Earth Asshole get some of his stuff out. I hate to go live with somebody else live, but you know, sometimes you gotta do it. So I appreciate everyone who's joining me in the chat, those at home, those in your car, those standing upside down, of course, as always, and those perpendicular. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate all of you. So what is on the agenda for tonight? I have two short videos I want to show you, and then I also want to show you a promo video, and then we'll get to calls. Actually, let's start with the promo video. If you remember, for 2 weeks in a row on Monday Night Raw, and also a show here on my channel, I hung out with a guy named Curious J, who's got his own channel, and it looks like he's moving on up. So let's check out that.
Has been paid for by
the Flat Earth
Podcast.
What?
The Flat Earth
Podcast. Every day I wake up and I'm like, can you believe people think we live on a spinning ball?
You hear it all the time in Flat Earth videos where we've all been indoctrinated. That's what our education system is.
NASA and Disney. Yep. Those are our two sources. And Disney is far more credible than NASA at this point.
My job years ago, I used to go out onto these offshore oil rigs.
Save your globes. They're going to be collector's items.
And I watched it all the way through and stopped dead in my tracks when I got to the curvature formula.
Astronomy is a joke. Every single thing about it is a lie.
I said something to my wife, and of course she thought I was nuts.
You know, my saying is every sense we have tells us we're flat and stationary. Only nonsense tells us otherwise.
Ooh, that's good. I like that. That's good. You need to meme that, Dave.
It could be a t-shirt.
So very cool to have those two guys joining forces. That's Dave Weiss and Curious J. 1 second, because I hear I'm not loud enough, so let me fix that. And I don't know why I'm not loud enough. Hold on 1 second. Could be because this thing's way over here. All right, so tell me if my voice is any better. I'll try not to use any four-letter words. Yes. Still low? I still see low. 1 second. I don't know why. Okay, I'm going to fix it. 1 second. Give me a moment. I was playing with the audio trying to get this. This is supposed to be Bob and Morgile were going to join me, but I couldn't get this stupid thing to work. So, 1 second. Make sure that's all good. That's good. There you go, up a little bit there. Test, test, test. How's that? Any better? Everybody says sounds good. Better? Still low? Better? Good to me. All right. It was the vid playing that was low, but it sounded like it turned it up in the middle. Yeah, I tried to. All right, good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your help. Everybody in the chat. Hello, Truth Finder. What's going on, Jason? Appreciate you guys being here. So we saw that little short clip, and I've got another one I wanted to have you guys watch. I don't know if you've seen this, but this is a video of Michael Collins that I found interesting. So we're going to bring that up here shortly. And oh, that's so cool. I love that. I made that all myself. Wasn't that impressive? Every time I get a sub, we knock the head of the astronaut off, which is, what's better than that? Probably nothing. Let's go to the pop player. Here we go. So we're going to watch here Michael Collins. Just keep an eye on his reactions here. This is a 2-minute video. And we've got Jeff Bezos from Amazon, who will be talking about the moon landings. And just watch Michael Collins. I don't know. Sometimes a picture tells 1,000 words, you know?
Basically, it's receded a bit, and entrepreneurs have the opportunity to do it. Do you think there's some way to recapture the U.S. government's interest in this?
Well, I think if you think back to the heyday of the 1960s and the Apollo program and all of that excitement, my gut instinct on this is that we as a civilization, we as humanity, pulled that moon landing way forward, out of sequence from where it actually should have been. It was a gigantic effort with what is, in many ways, it should have been impossible. And they pulled it off with, barely any computational power. They were still using slide rules. They couldn't numerically model in computers a lot of these important processes like combustion inside a rocket engine, which is still hard today, but we can do it a little bit. They didn't have computational fluid dynamics to really, everything had to be done in a wind tunnel. Nothing could be done on a computer. So I think the reason we've sort of taken a hiatus, maybe in part at least, is because we pulled that forward to a time when it should have been impossible. And then once it was done, we kind of had to wait and let technology catch up. The reason that Blue Origin and SpaceX and Virgin Galactic and all these companies today, any of these private companies, the only reason that we can do this kind of endeavor at all is because we're standing on the shoulders of NASA, who invented all of this technology. We're still using all the things that they invented back in the 60s. We have refined versions of it. But even the computer codes that we use to validate our designs.
If that's what you want to believe, then go right ahead. So let's take some calls, see how far we can go. Phone number is 562-735-FLAT. That is 562-735-FLAT. And we'll try and keep them short because I know I go on forever. So we'll try and keep it as short as possible. But yeah, if you want to call, the lines are open. And hopefully everybody hears you and can hear me. So let's go. Let's see here. Did I turn on the calls? Oh, that would help. Sorry. Let me turn this on. Okay. Now they're open. My bad. My bad. All right. Yeah, see, what's going on here with this yellow box. I mean, they're nowhere near the sun. So I'm not sure what exactly is supposed to be lighting that up. Is that like some exterior light? And if anybody wants to bet me money on how long the live feed will stay live, you can call in and we can bet over the phone right now. Because they go off the air about every 45 minutes. So maybe you can take anything over an hour and I'll take anything under. And we can bet that because you will lose because they can't keep it live. So there's just no way. Did I give the right phone number? 562-735-FLAT. That'd be great if nobody has any questions. I'll actually be stoked. Because I don't, unless somebody's trying to call. Oh, sorry. Wait, now I see people typing to me. What's wrong with calling? Can you not call? 1 second, let me make sure this is all set up right. I don't know why I'm getting people texting me. Call the number, don't text it. Nope, looks like it works. Save them, save that. So, I don't know if I'm not getting any calls or... That's good. Maybe nobody wants to talk. Oh, I see you would have lost. Whoever would have bet me would have lost. High definition camera already offline. Which, again, makes no sense. Why does the one work and not the other? Obviously, it's not offline. Obviously, it can't not communicate. So, let's see here. What else did we want to talk about? Just a point to make sure... Oh, see, I'm getting voice messages now. What is going on? Let me see what this voice message is. Let's listen. I don't know why I'm getting voice messages and not seeing calls. Go ahead and try and call in again if you want, and I will be watching it this time. I don't know why I'm not getting any rings. Let me see, make sure this is right. I was screwing with it earlier. Got another message. What's going on here? It looks like it's working. Save. Let's try this voice message.
Hey, Duran, this is Harrison out of San Antonio, Texas. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on the new Vsauce video.